What is good, Knicks Nation? We are live here on Knicks Media. The day that the Knicks acquire Cam Reddish. He is now officially a member of the New York Knicks. Thank you, Leon Rose. Thank you to the entire Knicks front office. This is pretty mind-boggling, guys. Did not expect this to happen. I made a video on my channel a couple days ago about the report that came out that Cam Reddish the Knicks have interest in Cam Reddish, and then all of a sudden this morning I get a call from my friend because I wasn't on my phone all morning. I was eating breakfast, I was doing my own thing, and then I get a call from my buddy. He's like, "Yo, you making a video?" I was like, "What do you mean making a video? Making a video what?" He's like, "The Knicks got Cam Reddish." I'm like, "No, he didn't." He's like, "I swear the Knicks got Cam Reddish. You got to go make a video." And then I went checked Twitter, saw the news, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, the Knicks made it happen." Thibodeau got his guy, and RJ Barrett is reunited with Cam Reddish. Absolutely insane. So in this stream, guys, I want to go live, interact with everybody in the chat. I want to hear your thoughts about this move, get into some questions that you might have about, the rotation. How is Cam Reddish going to fit into this rotation? Because as we know, Kevin Knox was not in the rotation at all, unless someone was injured. So how is Cam Reddish going to fit in the rotation? And number two, is there another trade coming? Because there's a lot of guards, there's a lot of wings on this team right now that are going to be looking to get minutes. Is Quentin Grimes still going to get some minutes? There's some players that are going to have to sacrifice minutes in order for Cam Reddish to go out there. So it's really crazy that the Knicks got this done, especially with the package that we gave up with obviously we all know what the Knicks gave up. For those of you guys that don't know, the Knicks gave up Kevin Knox, Charlotte's 2022 first-round pick that is protected. So that first-round pick is huge because we do not – that pick was not going to be in the top 16 at all. That pick is going to be in the 20s or late 16s, if anything, because if it goes into the lottery or even top 16, then that pick goes back to the Hornets because it is indeed protected. So that pick kind of had no value. So the fact that the Knicks gave up that and Kevin Knox for a guy in Cam Reddish is phenomenal. And you guys know me, I'm always been a Kevin Knox guy. I always rooted for him. I never really thought that he was a bad player by any means, but I wish nothing but the best for Kevin Knox. I hope he has a really good career either on the Hawks or he's probably going to leave the Hawks in the future. Who knows, unless the Hawks have long-term plans with him. So in this stream, guys, I want to interact with you guys in the chat. Basically, just talk about this trade because it's pretty crazy. So let's get into the chat. We got Kelvin in the chat. What's good, my man? What is good, Kelvin? What's up, my man? Love having you here. Ninja says Zion coming soon. Hey, you all saw the memes on Twitter with Thanos. Only one to go. We got two of the three Duke trios. You never know what can happen. Low risk, high reward, great move. Exactly. This is a great way to put it, my man. It's a low risk because we're giving up Kevin Knox, who I think we all know did not really have a future on this team in terms of being a starter or even a role player. Kevin Knox is a guy that comes in if anybody's hurt. If Obi Toppin or Julius Randle was down, Kevin Knox was the next man up. So this is low risk, high reward. If it doesn't pan out, if Cam Reddish comes here and he doesn't really play well for us, okay, we gave up a future first-round pick that's going to be not even in the lottery. This is a really good risk for the Knicks to take, and I'm all in on it. The chemistry will take time, but the energy is what we need. Yes, sir. I agree. The good thing is the chemistry is going to be really good with RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish right out of the gate, but it's going to be interesting to see how the chemistry really collides with all the other players. So if you guys don't know, Cam Reddish, when he's starting, he averages over 18 points per game and his efficiency's through the roof. In December, he had a 36-point game against the Magic, and he also had a 33-point game against the Chicago Bulls in December. So when he does get the minutes, you know that he has the ability to put the ball in the rim. He's a 6'8" wing that can just absolutely cash it from downtown if he's hot. He has a step backs. He can drive to the rim. He can do the dribble mid-range, pull up off pick and rolls. You cannot go under him on screens because he'll make you pay from downtown. And he's also a very good perimeter defender. So he kind of fits everything you would want in the Tom Thibodeau wing. He's really long as well, lanky, 6'8", big wingspan. And another thing about this trade that I love in particular is it's a young piece. It's not like we're trading for a veteran that's going to be here for a year, try to help us get over the hump. And, it's another player to add to the young nucleus of core players that we have on this team with RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickly. We got a crazy young nucleus of players on this team. And now Cam Reddish is the next man to join that young core from the New York Knicks. So, guys, if you're new to the stream, don't forget to smash that like button. If you are happy that the Knicks got Cam Reddish, hit the like button for your boy. We got 45 of you guys watching with 20 likes. Let's get this to over 50 likes by the end of the stream. So make sure you smash that like button if you guys are enjoying the stream and you're happy with Cam Reddish. And also, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. I'm very close to hitting 8,000 subscribers. That'll be a huge milestone on the channel, and I'll greatly appreciate if you guys can help me hit that milestone. Thank you guys so much. So, Mario says, a second unit with Rose, Quick, Cam, Obi, and Noel must be insane. So I think that's going to be great as well. I think that it's going to be a phenomenal opportunity off the bench. I think that's the really go-to opportunity for the Knicks off the bench. Man, you're getting me crazy, Mario. You're getting me crazy. But the one thing that I don't like about this lineup is we're missing out on Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes, I feel personally, deserves some minutes. He's shown up big time. But the big thing about Quentin Grimes is the Atlanta Hawks wanted Quentin Grimes. They wanted him in this trade, and the Knicks brass said, no, we're not giving you our first-round pick that we're high on, so you're getting Kevin Knox. And the Hawks are like, all right, sure, we'll take Knox. I'll tell you guys this. If the Knicks gave up Grimes in this trade, I wouldn't feel as good, to be honest. I would not feel as good about this trade. I would be happy about Cam Reddish, but I'm so high on Quentin Grimes to the point where if we gave him up, I would be really upset, especially to a team like the Atlanta Hawks. But the fact that we kept Grimes and got Cam Reddish, that's a big deal. That is a huge deal for the Knicks to be able to keep on to Quentin Grimes and keep on to Cam Reddish. Woo-wee! Phil Boy says, Richie, what do you think the last move the Knicks make, or are we done? No, this is the next topic I want to get into on the stream, guys. I feel like this is opening up opportunities for the Knicks to be more aggressive right now. I feel like there's going to be more moves in the future because if you look at the rotation right now, you look at the roster, there's some guys where you're like, how are people going to fit in this rotation? You know, like, are we going to move on from someone in the starting lineup? Is Kemba Walker going to be moved? Is Evan Fournier going to be moved? Is there somebody else on the young core like Quickly or Obi or even Randall? I mean, who knows at this point? I have no idea. I do not want to trade any of these young players. I love Quickly. I do not want to trade him. I love Obi. I do not want to trade him. RJ Barrett's untouchable. I don't want to give that even thought of him being packaged in any trade. This is now RJ Barrett's team, and you can see why it's RJ Barrett's team because the Knicks are like, all right, RJ's taking the next step. Let's bring in his boy. Next up is Zion in a couple years, and we're going all the way. I'm just kidding. But I feel like that this might be a little like a move that's going to be all of a sudden there's going to be a bunch of trades lined up for the Knicks potentially. So the front office for the Knicks deserves a ton of credit. And let's go back for a second, guys. For those guys that don't know about what this trade means in terms of the capital that we gave up, right? So the New York Knicks gave up Charlotte's 2022 first-round pick that was protected. If you guys don't remember how we acquired that pick, last year we had the 19th, 21st picks in the draft. And what the Knicks did is the Knicks traded that 19th overall pick to the Charlotte Hornets, and the Charlotte Hornets gave us a future first-round pick. And in that moment, I'll never forget this, on draft night, we had to wait all the way to 19 because us Knicks fans were not used to picking so late in the draft because we're used to picking the lottery. We're like, why are we giving up this pick? Why are we doing this? And then we figured out it was a future first-round pick. And initially, people were like, why did we do that? Why are we trading why are we trading this pick away for your pick next year? Like, I want a rookie right now. But then you look back on it, and I knew in that moment, the reason why Leon Rose did that is because he has a long-term vision for this team, and he wants to continue to have ammunition of stockpiled of draft picks for when trades like this become available. Because instead of getting multiple rookies in that draft class, which we already did, I mean, we got Grimes, we got Deuce, we got Jericho, we got Rokas, and add Cam Reddish to that draft class. I don't even care because you could turn all that, and of course you got to give up Knox for it as well. But Leon Rose had the forward thinking of, you know what? I don't really love anybody at 19. I feel like hopefully we get Quentin Grimes later in the draft, which is exactly what they did. Let's continue to stockpile our capital for the future because not only do we want to build through the draft, but we want to have picks to just in case when the trade deadline comes around, we want to be aggressive. That's exactly what they did. So it's a big time move from Leon Rose to be able to have that forward thinking mindset, bringing in guys, trading for picks. It's just so refreshing to have a guy in Leon Rose to really have a forward thinking mindset and not just be reactive, not just overthink things and not just try to, throw the bag at people, not overpay for, established veterans. Like, we're going all in on the young core right now. I love that. And this coffee right now never tastes better. Knowing that the Knicks blew out the Mavericks last night, knowing that RJ Barrett is on back-to-back 30-point games, knowing that Cam Reddish is a Knick. Woo-wee. So, guys, I want to hear your thoughts about this in the chat. I really do. Is anybody against this trade? I feel like every Knicks fan's like, okay, that was an amazing trade. And you go to Hawks Twitter, and they're freaking out. They're absolutely freaking out about this because they don't understand why they did that. But on the Hawks side of things, I think the reason why the Atlanta Hawks moved on from Cam Reddish is because they're in cap hell. Obviously, they're not playing good basketball. They're 17-23. Cam Reddish, he doesn't really have a big-time role on that team. He comes off the bench, and they're trying to plan for the future. They need some draft picks in the future. Maybe the Hawks are trying to get a trade of their own. Maybe they want to use that Hornets pick and package it in for a bigger trade for them. Apparently, the Hawks are selling right now. I saw a report that the Hawks are trying to trade everybody besides Trae Young and Clint Capella. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over there in Atlanta. And I'm happy to see that the Knicks got the first trade from them in Cam Reddish. So if there's any trades that the Knicks got to do in the future, I'm curious to see what's it going to be, especially what position group. But it just feels good right now because you guys remember, go back a couple weeks ago, it was dark times for the Knicks. Everybody had COVID. We were like 4 games under 500. We couldn't do anything. The starters were not doing anything together. Derrick Rose goes down with surgery. He's going to be out for 2 months. It was just felt like rock bottom. And then now you fast forward, we're almost like, 2 weeks into 2022, and RJ Barrett's taking another step to the point where we're like handing him the keys to the kingdom. The Knicks go out there, and we're all getting healthy. Nerlens Noel's finally back. We're waiting for Kemba Walker to be healthy, obviously, and Derrick Rose are 2 veteran point guards. But everything's trending in the right direction. We're on a 5-game winning streak at Madison Square Garden, and we're trending in the right direction. And now the New York Knicks go out there and get a guy in Cam Reddish to join the young core. And the best thing about Cam Reddish, guys, is when he plays when he plays a lot of minutes, when he starts, he has a lot of potential. Like if you go back, look up Cam Reddish highlights right now on YouTube if you guys want. He dropped 36 points on the Magic and 33 points or something like that on the Bulls. And if you watch those highlights, he can create his own shot like crazy. And the Knicks need a wing that has the efficiency and has the confidence to just let it loose and be a guy that can facilitate, be a guy that can drive to the rim, be a guy that on pick and roll, be another playmaker. Like the chemistry between RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish is going to be clicking right away on all cylinders because we all know about that crazy Duke combination that they had. But I just have a feeling, man, this trade is going to do good things for the Knicks. And another awesome thing as well is he's on a contract for next year. Like, it's not like this is a 1-year rental. Like, it's not like Cam Reddish's contract is expiring and we have to extend him right now. This is a big time trade for the Knicks. And both Cam Reddish and both RJ Barrett will be eligible for a contract extension after this year. I think that the Knicks have to extend RJ first before they worry about Cam Reddish. I wouldn't really worry about a Cam Reddish extension, to be honest, until we actually see him play for the Knicks and see if he's actually, playing good basketball for us. So I see some people in the chat just learning about this news. Just a reminder of who the Knicks gave up. I think I put it in the description. So if you want to see the trade package, look down below in the description underneath the video. The New York Knicks gave up Kevin Knox and Charlotte's protected first-round pick. We get back Cam Reddish, Solomon Hill, and Brooklyn's 2025 second-round pick. So that's the trade package. I feel like that's a no-brainer. Kevin Knox, listen, I always loved Kevin, but he really did not have a future on this team. Go out there and get a guy that has so much upside in Cam Reddish. Like, we also have to realize that Cam Reddish is not like a perfect player. He has some issues. He didn't really, pan out in Atlanta. But I also feel like Atlanta didn't really give him an opportunity to, because when they drafted Cam Reddish, the following offseason, they went out there and threw the bag at Bogdanovich. They threw the bag at Gallinari. Like, they gave veteran wings a lot of money to the point where they buried Cam Reddish on the bench, where they didn't give Cam Reddish an opportunity to develop into a starting role player for them. And now they want to give him up because they felt like he wasn't really doing anything for them. So, hey, I'm all in on it. I think this is a home run move. Anybody in the chat want to ask away any questions about this trade or what you can expect? Let me know. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And guys, also, don't forget to like the video on your way in. I really do appreciate all the support. We already have 43 likes with just under 100 of you guys watching. So smash that like button if you're happy that Cam Reddish is officially a member of the New York Knicks. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are indeed new. I post videos after every single Knicks game. I go live here and there. I love diving into the chat. I got a Knicks Twitter account about the Knicks as well. So if you guys want to subscribe and join the Knicks media community, that will be very appreciative, of course. I'm telling you guys, this coffee's never tasted so good. So Kelvin's got an interesting take in the chat. Let's see what Kelvin's got to say. RJ is the key to make the Knicks work. RJ creates a flow to the offense when he is aggressive. If he keeps facilitating, the flow will only get better. Everyone is playing off RJ's aggressiveness. Yes, sir, Kelvin. Yes, sir. And what do the Knicks do, Kelvin? They go out there and they get Cam Reddish to join RJ Barrett because we needed somebody to come here that has chemistry with the king of the Knicks, and that's RJ. I couldn't agree more with you, Kelvin. I think this is RJ Barrett's team. I've tweeted it out multiple times. I feel like RJ Barrett, the best is yet to come, and we always forget. I don't forget, but a lot of people seem to forget, and it's okay if you forget because it's kind of mind-boggling every time I bring this up. RJ Barrett's the youngest player on the Knicks, and he's in year 3. He's younger than all the rookies. He's younger than Grimes. He's younger than Deuce. He's younger than Jericho Sims. And he's younger than Quickly. And he's younger than Obi. All those guys I mentioned were drafted after him. But RJ Barrett's the youngest of them all. That just boggles my mind. And that's why when RJ went through a little slumps here and there, I would always remind people, like, guys, RJ's trajectory, he's only going to get better and better. He might not get everything clicking in year number 2. He might not get everything clicking in year number 3 because I think this year is a really good breakout season for RJ in terms of finding his consistency. I think that's the only thing holding RJ back from being like an all-star is consistency. Right now, he's on a crazy stretch. He's averaging around 25 points per game in his last 5 games, and he's just dominating. So if RJ can stay consistent, that's what's going to make or break his career in the league. And I think he is the future of this team, his aggressiveness, his playmaking ability, his energy, his mindset, his camaraderie, everything about it, man. Everything about RJ. And I honestly gotta give credit to Julius Randle as well, just in terms of the RJ Barrett emergence, because it's hard. Julius Randle last year was the guy. He was the guy that led us to the 4th seed, most improved player, all-star. We all know what Julius Randle did for us. And now, obviously, a lot of things is going against Randle. He's not playing his best basketball. And right now, he realizes that RJ Barrett is developing and RJ's becoming a star. So Randle's letting that. You know, if Randle had an ego and Randle's like, no, this is my team. Like, I'm not letting RJ do this. Like, I gotta do what I gotta do. Like, no, Randle's allowing this to happen. So I really give Randle a lot of credit for that because it takes a lot to, allow RJ to emerge himself. So the reason why I say RJ is the future is because of how young he is and how much he's going to get better as the season progresses. Like, that's why you got to let him take over the offense now when he's 21, because it's only going to give him experience. He's only going to get better and better and better. Like, are you kidding me? Sign me up. So the Knicks got Cam Reddish, guys. I'm still at a loss for words. To be honest, when I made that video about the report that came out that the Knicks are interested in him, in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, they're not going to do that. They're not going to. The only reason why I thought they're not going to do it is because of the people that we'd have to give up. And I felt like the people that we'd have to give up would be way more than just Kevin Knox. I thought it had to be Grimes, or it had to be Quickly, or it had to be an Obi, or it had to be a Deuce. And no, we give up Kevin Knox, who I think out of the young core that we have is the worst of the young core. And I love Kevin Knox. I hope him the best. But I got to say, out of the young core that we have, I think Kevin Knox is the one player that I'm okay with moving on from, because I'm a Knicks fan that really believes in holding on to the young core, holding on to the young players instead of like packaging, instead of packaging our entire young team for one superstar. I know that superstar seems flashy and, a guy like Lillard or Ben Simmons or, a potential superstar like a De'Aaron Fox. Some Knicks fans want to go out there and get them, but my thought's not really there. I want this Knicks team to be a franchise that builds through the draft. And that's what we're doing right now. Like, for example, the Golden State Warriors, they're the perfect example. And even throw in the Milwaukee Bucks, they built through the draft, right? They drafted Klay Thompson, they drafted Draymond Green, they drafted Steph Curry, and they drafted the role players around them. The Milwaukee Bucks, they drafted Giannis, they drafted Chris Middleton, and those two guys developed over time. Let me just remind you guys that our young core were all draft picks. Besides Cam Reddish, obviously, include Cam Reddish to there. RJ Barrett was our first round pick in 2019. In 2020, no, we got to go back to 2018, actually. 2018, we drafted Kevin Knox and Mitchell Robinson. We turned Kevin Knox into Cam Reddish. Mitchell Robinson's coming off a dominating performance last night, dropping 19 and 10, 2 blocks and a steal, 9 for 10, just dunking on everybody, looking like a young Shaq. And then 2019, we go out there and we draft RJ Barrett. 2020, we draft Emmanuel Quickley and Obi Toppin. In 2021 draft class, we draft Quentin Grimes, Deuce McBride, Jericho Sims, and Rokas Yakubitis, who's playing really well overseas. All those players I just mentioned could be big-time pieces for the young nucleus, the foundation that we have for the future of this Knicks team. That is huge because if you could build through the draft, like you got to give Scott Perry and Leon Rose a ton of credit, especially Scott Perry because he was here before Leon Rose and he's the one that found Mitchell Robinson. He's the one that drafted RJ Barrett before Leon Rose came in here. And then when Leon Rose took over, he's the one that drafted Obi. He's the one that drafted Quickley. So Scott Perry deserves a ton of credit. And I feel like that nucleus I just mentioned is the reason why I'm so optimistic about the future of this team. And I do not want to break up this foundation that we have. I want them to take the keys. Like I want Deuce McBride. I want Grimes. I want those two rookies to really get a lot of minutes. RJ Barrett, our own draft pick, is becoming a star before our very eyes. Mitchell Robinson is absolutely taking over the league in terms of the paint. When he's dominant, he's dominant. It just feels good that that's the case. And then even last year's draft class, Emmanuel Quickley, his energy off the bench is infectious. Obi Toppin, we know that he's taking a big step this year. He has been in a little dry spell recently, but I think that's because we're not giving a lot of minutes. But Obi Toppin is literally the perfect backup to Julius Randle. He comes in, brings in the energy, high flyer, the energy through the roof. The athleticism we all know is all about that. So the reason why I bring this up is because the Knicks are building through the draft. And if you want to do that, like they're doing this thing the complete opposite of the Brooklyn Nets, right? And yes, maybe the Brooklyn Nets are, the second seed. They just beat the Chicago Bulls last night. And the Brooklyn Nets, they signed Kevin Durant. They signed Kyrie Irving. They trade their entire team for James Harden. And they have 3 superstars. And, that's what the NBA is about. You need to have superstars in order to win. But then you look at the team like the Milwaukee Bucks. And obviously, Giannis Antetokounmpo is a mega superstar. He's one of the best players in the league. And that's a big reason why they won the championship. But you got to give credit to the Bucks and the Warriors. And I know that the Warriors attracted Kevin Durant. So it's kind of like, yeah, not really that impressive. But they did win with that young core beforehand. And Curry happens to be the greatest three-point shooter of all time. But you guys understand what I'm saying, right? The Knicks are trying to build this team through the draft and then acquire picks in the future and cap space to supplement the roster through free agency. Like we gave Evan Fournier that contract. He's only going to be here for, I think, this year and the next 2 years, maybe even less if you want to trade him. Julius Randle, we gave him that big extension. I still believe Julius Randle to be the guy for this team, to be a great rebounder, to be a guy that put the ball in the rim, play defense, give effort when it's there. I still believe in Randle. I'm not one of those Knicks fans that is booing him. I'm not one of those Knicks fans that's given up on him. I'm not one of those Knicks fans that wants to trade him. I'm all in on Julius Randle. I'm hoping that, he could put all those things behind him and he can, rebound and get through that mental mishap that he's had throughout the course of the season. So I just feel like the Knicks front office is doing a phenomenal job, like absolutely phenomenal job right now with what they're doing in terms of building through the draft and acquiring assets. And another thing that I love about this trade is last year, Leon Rose made a trade for Derrick Rose. And Derrick Rose was such a great trade. We gave up Dennis Smith Jr. and we get him in a second-round pick or whatever. And Derrick Rose was a big reason why the Knicks were the 4th seed last year and a big reason why we were, in the playoffs. And he was the best performer in the playoffs, actually, Derrick Rose. But now, Leon Rose in the second season as Knicks president, he makes a trade not for an established veteran, not for a guy that's going to be here for a couple years, but a guy in Cam Reddish who's young. You could throw him into this young core of players. Like, that's crazy. Like, I'll never forget when Hawks fans were debating with Knicks fans, Cam Reddish is better than RJ. Cam Reddish is better than RJ Barrett. Well, how about this? We got both of them now. So who's laughing now, Atlanta? We got both Cam and RJ, baby. And now I know everybody's like, yo, Zion's next. You know what? Zion can't even get on the court right now, so I'm not going to buy into the stock of Zion Williamson coming here until I see him on the court healthy and playing basketball, because I think the only thing holding Zion back is his own health. We all know that he's a dominant presence when he's on the court and he's in shape, but there's a lot of things about it. Another thing about this trade that I mentioned before that Knicks fans have to realize is such a big deal is the Atlanta Hawks wanted Quentin Grimes, right? Hold on, my boy's texting me, Wardy. Yeah, Wardy, if you want to join in, you're more than welcome to hop in the stream right now. I'll send you the link. So there's a lot of things to get into. What was this? What was I just talking about? Oh, yeah. So the Atlanta Hawks wanted Quentin Grimes at first. So that's crazy. That the fact that the Atlanta Hawks asked the Knicks, we want Quentin Grimes, and the Knicks and Leon Rose are like, yeah, we're not going to give you Quentin Grimes. We're going to give you Kevin Knox in a first-round pick. And the Hawks are like, all right. Okay. Like I said this earlier, if the Knicks gave up Quentin Grimes in this trade, I will not be feeling as happy right now. I'd be pretty pumped that we got Cam Reddish, but I would not be happy that we gave up a promising rookie in Quentin Grimes. And then now you tell me the reality of the situation. The Knicks have Quentin Grimes, and we still got Cam Reddish. Oh, my God. Like, oh, my God. I can't even imagine what, like, is going through the minds of even RJ Barrett. So I'm going to have a special guest joining the stream right now, guys. If any of you guys are Mets fans, you guys know him very well. His name is Wardy, NYM, but he's also a Knicks fan, and he's also a big-time Duke fan. So I'm going to have him on the stream, and he's going to give us his thoughts about the trade and his thoughts about the RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish joining the show, joining the same team together, and how that chemistry will join. So he's going to be joining in shortly. Any Mets fans that's on YouTube, you probably know him. He's Wardy NYM, the top Mets YouTuber out there. That's the reason why I bring it up. I know there's Yankees fans in here. I'm not talking about any baseball. I'm just saying if you're a Mets fan, you probably are familiar with who I'm about to bring in on the show. So this trade means so much for so many reasons, the Knicks' future, because now Cam Reddish and RJ Barrett are both eligible for contract extensions after the season. Very interesting to see what is going to happen in terms of that. They got to extend RJ. Like, come on. Are you seeing what he's doing, guys? RJ's here forever. Like, I think it was Coach K, actually. He said that he predicts that RJ Barrett will be a Knick for life. And when we drafted RJ Barrett, I always felt like this could be the man that becomes the Knick forever. He could be our, Derek Jeter. How about that, Yankees fans? He can be our Kobe Bryant for the Lakers. Just in terms of playing, I'm not comparing him to Kobe before you guys ridicule me in the chat. I'm not comparing him to Jeter. I'm just saying I've always wanted one player on the Knicks that we draft, we develop, and he's here forever. Like, I've wanted that for so long, and I feel like RJ Barrett could be that guy. Because we drafted him at 19. He's in year number 3. He's 21, and he's about to be like, he's just taking the next step after the next step, and he's doing everything you want. So, guys, shout out to everybody in the chat. You guys are killing it. I see all the support. It's going crazy. Smash that like button if you guys are pumped up that RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish are reunited, and the Knicks went out there and got Cam Reddish. I really greatly appreciate all you guys tuning in. We got 71 likes with just under 200 people watching. So, guys, help me get to 100 likes. If you guys are new, don't forget to smash that like button, please. If you guys are happy that the Knicks got Cam Reddish. And also, if you're new to the channel and you're just, coming across Knicks media for the first time, my name's Richie. I post Knicks content all throughout the season. I post post-game recap videos after every single game. I go live here and there to go, host the Knicks Q&A. I love going deep into the chat, interacting with Knicks community. I post a lot of great Knicks content here. And if you want to join the Knicks media community, please feel free to subscribe. I'm very close to hitting 8K. If you want to help me get to 8K, that will be phenomenal. I really do appreciate all the support on Knicks media. It means the world to me, guys. Just having a platform just to be able to interact with all Knicks fans across the world. Like, Knicks fans are the best. We are the best fan base on the planet. It really is. Like, come on. Name me a better fan base that goes absolutely berserk on the littlest things. And I love that because fan bases across the league, they clown us. And why do they clown us? Because we're passionate. You're clowning us because we're passionate? How about you get a real fan base? Huh? I love it. I love it. I'm just so pumped up that this actually happened. I still am at a loss for words. And for those guys that don't know this as well, I'm going to the Knicks game Saturday night in Atlanta. I will be in Atlanta. I'm flying to Atlanta tomorrow. No, I'm not doing this because of the Cam Reddish trade. I'm actually doing it because my buddy lives in Atlanta, and I scheduled this like 3 months ago. I saw that the Knicks will be in Atlanta this weekend, and I booked a flight. I bought tickets, and I'll be there. I'll be in Atlanta Saturday night. So let's do it. Let's do it. Salute from Puerto Rico. Let's go. See, we got Knicks fans across the world. What fan base is supporting from across the world? We're worldwide, baby. We're worldwide. So guys, there's a lot of things to be happy about with this move. I feel like this opens up opportunities for the Knicks to be very aggressive as well. It's really interesting to see what's going to happen in terms of the rotation. Like, that's the one thing I want to hear you guys in the chat. Everybody in the chat, let me know, how is Cam Reddish going to fit into the rotation? Is he going to be coming off the bench? Is it going to be, quickly Grimes, Reddish, Obi, and Nerlens off the bench? But, like, who are we missing? I feel like I'm missing somebody. Based on, like, who's healthy right now. Let's look. Let's look at the game from last night. So, yeah, so actually we ran a 9-man rotation last night. So if we want to run a 10-man rotation, Reddish has the chance to. The starters right now is Burks at the point guard. It's Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Mitch. That's the starting 5. And then the bench unit last night was Quickly, Grimes, Obi, and Nerlens. That's a 4-man team. So you can just plug in Reddish on that bench unit, and then all of a sudden you got a 10-man rotation. You know what I mean? So, guys, we got a special friend of mine, Tyler, who's going to be joining the show. He's a Knicks fan. He's a big-time Duke fan as well. So, my boy Tyler will be joining the show right now. Hold on. Let me just make sure I got my mic on. And we are good. Tyler.
You hear me?
Yes, sir. How you doing, my man?
Awesome. I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. For those guys that don't know, this is Tyler. He runs a Mets YouTube channel, the top Mets content creator on YouTube. He's also a big Knicks fan. He's also a big Duke fan. So I want to bring him in to give his thoughts because he watched RJ and Cam Reddish go crazy in the Duke days as a Duke fan. So welcome to the stream, my man. You want to introduce yourself for those guys that don't really know what you got going on YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? Yeah, I do Mets content. That's what most of you guys know me from. I have a New York Rangers podcast too. I do weekly at Rangers Review with my buddy Steven. Richie and I have done a lot of content together regarding the Mets, and we will be doing plenty more, especially leading into the season, hoping that it starts on time. For my baseball fans, you guys know we're in a lockout right now. But yeah, I saw you reach out to me and asked if I want to come on. I absolutely did because, yeah, I know a lot of Knicks fans are happy about this deal. I am too, but especially, I've always been a big Duke fan. And no, I'm not a bandwagon. I know that's probably the first thing that people think of when they hear Duke, right? But no. Quick story. I actually grew up watching Duke because in my 5th grade English class, my homeroom class, my teacher had everyone pick a random team out of a hat, and whoever's team won March Madness that year got to pick what we did activity-wise for like the last week of school. And I picked, and it said Duke. I had no clue who Duke was, but I watched every game for them that year, and here we are now. And that 2018-2019 team with, of course, RJ and Zion and Reddish and Jones, the list goes on. It was so much fun to watch. And to see now RJ and Cam together is going to be really something special. I mean, I liked Kevin Knox. I know that I might be a little bit more in the minority there. I hope he does well in Atlanta. But, I mean, for what the Knicks, I should say, gave up to land someone like Cam Reddish, who's only 22, who's going to thrive in an increased role, assuming that Tibbs gives it to him, hopefully. I think that this is a slam dunk of a trade. I really do. Him and RJ, I think that relationship in itself is going to be awesome to see rekindled. But, man, I'm just so excited to see them back together. It feels surreal. It really does.
It does feel surreal. I was telling the chat earlier on the stream that you were the actually person that broke the news for me. I was not on my phone this morning, and all of a sudden I get a call from you, and I pick it up, and you're like, "You making a video?" I was like, "Make a video on what, bro?" The Knicks got Cam. The Knicks got Reddish. I was like, "Shut up! No, they didn't." And he's like, "No, I'm serious. You didn't see it." And so Tyler's the one that broke the news to me. So I appreciate you being Woj, taking over that. For
I try.
So, guys, we just hit 100 likes. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate all the support on Knicks Media. It means a lot that you guys are tuning in. Tyler, just so you know, I'm going to Atlanta this weekend, and I'm going to the Knicks-Hawks game.
Oh, shit. That's their next game, right?
Yeah, that's their next game. My buddy lives in Atlanta, and I planned this 3 months ago. And I'm flying down tomorrow.
Wow,
and
look at that.
Who would have thought? I don't know if Cam Reddish will be making his Knicks debut.
I hope he does.
Saturday
He doesn't
night.
even need to leave. He could just stay there.
Yeah, stay in Atlanta, and we had a full day of work and practice. So the big question that we all have with this trade is, how is Cam Reddish going to fit into the rotation? So right before you came on, I was just looking at the rotation from last night, and I think this is what's going to happen based on who's healthy right now. The starting lineup so far is Burks at point guard, RJ, Fournier, Randall, and Mitch. That's the starting five. And then last night off the bench, we only had 4 people come off the bench, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like Reddish has a chance to run with this bench unit. Quickly at the point, Grimes at the 2, Reddish at the 3, Obi at the 4, and Nerlens Noel at the 5. How do you think that bench unit will work together?
I think it'll work well. I really do. And I think that this will be a nice kind of, debut, ease him into things, because Reddish obviously is in a spot at the moment where we could see him starting like consistently, but Tibbs has been so up and down with how he's went about his configurations a lot this year. So I think Reddish, ease him in off the bench. I think that group would do really well. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Grimes, and I'm so happy that they didn't trade Grimes. I saw the report that the Hawks were interested in him and the Knicks were reluctant. I think that's great, especially for what you see what Grimes has done for the Knicks in just a small sample size so far. Same thing with Deuce. And in comparison to, of course, someone like Knox, who, yes, he was balling out for a short span. Then, of course, he was in protocol. And then, everything kind of went back to its old ways again. So I like that group off the bench. It's exciting. It's a young, fresh group. And I think that's a really nice way to introduce him and kind of get him in the flow of things with this Knicks group, and hopefully get him some time eventually, some significant time, even with someone like RJ, if they can get something going there. So yeah, I'm really curious to see how Tibbs is going to go about this all. He's someone where I've agreed with him plenty of times in regards to the starting rotation and off the bench. And there's other times where, I've been very vocal with you where I've been left scratching my head quite a bit. So I'm curious how they're going to go about things, but Knicks are rolling right now. RJ's balling out. He's been averaging over 20, I think, over the past 7 games at least. And Cam, of course, is someone that if you give him increased time, he can definitely thrive. And that's what he's hoping to get here with the Knicks. So, yeah, very, very excited. I'm curious with what you said, however, with exactly, is he going to be fit off the bench right away? How are they going to utilize him? But naturally, I don't see the Knicks doing this trade without really trying to give Cam as much opportunities as humanly possible over time. Not right away, because I know Tibbs can be stubborn at times, but easing into things, hopefully gaining Tibbs' trust is going to do him really well.
Yeah, in all the games that Cam Reddish was a starter for the Atlanta Hawks, he averaged over 18 points per game. And he had 2 30-point games in December. He had a 36-point bomb.
Yeah, that wasn't even that long ago. I'm trying to go back and see how his games were this season.
It was early December. Late December, actually. And he had
against
really,
the Bulls.
really good games.
Yeah, he had 33 and 40. Awesome.
Yeah, 33 against the Bulls, and then he had 36 against the Magic just a couple weeks before that. So as a Duke fan, you want to break down Cam Reddish's game? Like, what did you see from him at Duke? Like what type of play style is going to bring to the Knicks? I know that he's a 6'8" wing. He's improving his 3-point shooting tremendously. Last year, he did not shoot the ball well from downtown at all. He actually shot, I think, 27% from downtown, but now I think it's up to around 37%, which is a really good sign in his progression. He's an elite defender. He's a guy that can do mid-range dribble pull-ups. So what type of game, like what should Knicks fans expect from Cam Reddish individually, and how would you break down his game?
See, this is a good question, because I would be lying if I said that I've been watching Cam a lot since his time in Duke, of course, because why am I going to watch the Hawks, right, outside when they play the Knicks? But what I can tell you from everything that I did see with Cam with Duke, he is someone that really can drive that offense at times, but he's a big balance. And it's going to be curious to see how he really gels with this Knicks group, especially with RJ, because I know that it might not seem like a big deal, but to have someone that you did thrive with, especially during your time in Duke, back together, rekindling that relationship, I think that's going to not just bring a spark for his game, but kind of a newfound energy, because there were multiple reasons as to why he had a falling out with the Hawks, and him, of course, not getting consistent playing time and also not being consistent at times. I think that needs to be noted too, dealing with some injuries. But as you said, shooting right around 38%, which is great. And I think his defensive ability is really going to build this team well too, kind of having that balance. Because something that's really frustrating me with the Knicks this year, and you can attest this, is a lot of the starting five, especially when Kemba was in there and Fournier, they're just too one-dimensional, right? And when you get offensive production, that's great. But the Knicks' biggest struggle so far this season has been really being too lopsided in one category. They went from last season being a team that was surprising everyone. It was balanced not just offensively, but defensively. Then they got those big free agent signings. They lost some key guys on the defensive front, like those depth pieces in Reggie Bullock and even Ntilikina to a certain extent. So you could tell that to start this year, they've had their inconsistencies. We're really just trying to balance the offense from the defense. I think Cam brings that perfect mix. And as age of 22 as well, this is just the beginning for him. I really think that this is going to be huge for him thriving with the Knicks. And he's definitely someone that can shoot like no tomorrow, someone that can help out with the playmaking. He's going to kind of be a Swiss Army knife. I think that's a perfect way to describe him, because during his time with Duke, it wasn't like he needed to be that guy, because you had Zion leading the way, of course, and you also had RJ. He was someone that, if he was on another club during that time, would have been their number one right away. And Cam was able to kind of, feed off of the guys around him and really just help gel things and make them balanced. Now you see similarities with guys like Randall, of course, and RJ again. I think that he's going to really fit in a spot where the pressure is going to be on him, of course, because he's in the biggest market in the world, not just for basketball, but for every sport, right? It's New York, baby. But outside of that, I just feel like him coming into the Knicks now, being with RJ again, and with what the Knicks are looking for with being team on the rise, but young at the same time, that is really, really going to help him. And I'm really excited for what he's going to bring. I think there's a lot of different elements to his game that's going to be huge. And again, a 6-8 win, like you said, it's very exciting. Let me put it, for what the Knicks gave up, especially, I think that this could not have gone literally any better for the Knicks in this deal.
Exactly. Really good breakdown. I think the one thing that gets me most excited about this, and you alluded to it earlier, and I broke it down already on the stream, but the report that they wanted Quentin Grimes. And the fact that they didn't have to give him up. To be honest with you, Tyler, if the Knicks gave up Grimes, I'd be feeling a little differently about this trade. I'd be happy with Cam Reddish, but I'd be a little, upset, because I think Quentin Grimes' potential on this team is like unbelievable, because his confidence
shot is something else. I mean, as long as you just get him rolling, he
has one of the most pure jump shots I've seen in a while. Like, he has that Allen Houston style form. Like, he has the confidence, and he's also a great defender. So the fact that that report came out that the Knicks held on to Quentin Grimes and still got Cam Reddish, because that makes you think of the hypothetical that what if we had to give up Grimes? It'd be a completely different animal right now. Knicks fans would probably be divided. Like, no, because Knicks fans are falling in love with Quentin Grimes every time he steps on the court. So the fact that we held on to Grimes, we have to give up Kevin Knox, his deal's expiring, and we all know that Knox was like probably the worst player on the team in terms of the young core that we have that we're trying to build through the draft. And I feel like the Knicks just hit a home run with Cam Reddish, and I'm really excited to see what type of what type of play style it brings to the Knicks. Like, if he comes off the bench, they got to find minutes with RJ and Cam on the court together. Like, I think that has to happen. We need to see RJ and Cam on the court together. I posted a GIF on Twitter of the beautiful in between legs pass that RJ Barrett had to Cam Reddish at Duke, and he nailed it. Like, that potential just makes me giddy. Just at the Garden, like, seeing RJ dish it out to Cam Reddish, it just makes me super excited. So I know that
shout out to the Knicks too, not to cut you off, but for actually playing well at the Garden. They won 5 straight there now, right? Like, who would have thought? I mean, it felt like, the Garden was their kryptonite to start this season, which unfortunately is the case with a lot of big arenas. You think that, oh my goodness, they have this, MSG, the best arena in all of sports, but naturally that pressure might not bode you well, especially if you're a little wishy-washy to start. So thankfully the Knicks have been getting on a roll a bit at home. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I'm happy you brought that up, because the Knicks are now 500 on the season, and now we're also 500 at home. We were 6-11 at home, and this 5-game winning streak brings us to 11-11 at home, and that's huge. I mean, you got to be able to win your games at home, especially when you're playing in the world's most famous arena. So I know this stream is all about Cam Reddish, but there's another big-time topic that's emerging that you brought up in RJ Barrett with the New York Knicks. You know me, and of course, you're a big RJ fan as being a Duke fan. I've been supporting RJ Barrett ever since he was drafted here. I always felt like he had the mindset and the confidence and the ability to be a star in this league. Even though it might not happen in year 1 or year 2, he's going to show some flaws. He's going to show some inconsistency. But right now, he is the youngest Knicks player of all time to have back-to-back 30-point games. He's averaging over 25 points per game in his last 5 games. He's having his best stretch of his career. If you look statistically in his last 9, I think the only thing holding RJ Barrett back is consistency. And that's going to happen because, reminder, everybody, RJ is the youngest player on the Knicks. He's younger than all of our rookies. He's younger than all of our year 2 players.
Literally 20. The fact that people have written this guy off is an absolute joke. Like, I get it.
Oh,
look, basketball drafts are different. I'm well aware, especially when you draft a guy within the first top 5. You're expecting the world from them right away. And I know that Knicks fans especially have little to no patience because they're just frustrated every year. I don't blame them at all. I completely understand that. I feel that same way at times. But at the end of the day, you draft a kid not 18, 19 years old. Okay, yes, they need to develop. I know it seems a little crazy, and that's the biggest frustration that I have, and I'm curious what your stance is on this. With the NBA draft, especially when you draft kids out of freshman year or sophomore year, there is an immaturity level to a lot of them. And if they're not properly developed, they're kicked aside right away before they're even really given a chance. And I know that RJ has been given those opportunities, so I'm not singling him out here, but it goes for a lot of players. Every single year, the amount of busts that we see are ridiculous. And it's frustrating because I do feel like it goes in hand with, immaturity going to being, say, for a top college or even a smaller college, and then you're a millionaire right away and you're thriving and you're expected the world of you. So if you don't get there, then okay, you can get cut ties with too soon. And I think Cam Reddish is actually a great example of someone that might come back to bite the Hawks in the ass if we're looking at exactly what the Knicks gave up here. But to your point about RJ, again, he's 21 years old. He's absolutely killing it. This doesn't surprise me at all as someone that followed him intensely with Duke, but I'm really happy to see Knicks fans really get on the wave of the RJ train. He's driving this offense. It's great to see. And now going back to you, because I know that you've been an RJ lifer since the Knicks drafted him.
Yeah, and another reason why I'm a big RJ lifer is I was never, and I just got to add him to the graphic. We got Cam and RJ in the same box as you. Look at that.
Love that.
It's funny because I was never really a college basketball fan. Growing up in New York, I never had a team. Like, I like Syracuse, but they were so far away from me. They're all the way upstate New York. And when I went to college, I had a buddy of mine who is a diehard Syracuse fan. Like, he's not even an NBA fan. He's just an all-in college basketball. And that was the year, my freshman year of college, when RJ was with Duke. And I actually bought tickets to see Duke and Cuse at the Dome. And originally, we wanted to see Zion and RJ and Cam all together. And then if you guys remember, Zion was injured, so it was RJ Barrett's show. And I'll never forget going to the game in Cuse, watching RJ Barrett drop a 30 bomb. And I knew when I was there, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm watching a future Knick. I'm watching either Zion Williamson or I'm watching RJ Barrett. Like, I had a feeling one of these guys will be a Knick. And I watched RJ drop that 30 piece, and I'm like, okay, screw Zion. I'm like the biggest RJ fan out there. And then I just loved watching Duke. Every single game that they had, I tried to watch them because they just played so fun. They just played so well together. And RJ was just the leader of that team. I know that Zion was the guy, but RJ was like, dropping 30 bombs. And then, of course, Cam Reddish as well. But I'm just really happy that RJ's taken this next step because as a Knicks fan myself, as somebody that's believed in RJ through it all, the thick and thin, like, it just feels so refreshing that everything that I've been preaching to Knicks fans is coming to fruition because, hey, I'm not perfect. I've had some takes that's not correct. Like, I thought Knox was going to hit. I thought Frank Ntilikina was going to hit. Obviously, some picks I was wrong about. But RJ Barrett was a different animal for me. And I think the reason why I believe in RJ Barrett so much is not just his play on the court, but it's his mentality, his confidence. He has a different swagger to him that I always truly believe that he has an ability to deal with adversity better than anybody else because – as we all know, no matter basketball, baseball, football, doesn't matter the sport, it's all mental because you could be as physically talented, gifted as you could possibly be. But if you're not mentally strong, you're not going to be able to survive, and especially in a market like New York. And I'm so happy somebody brought up this clip on Twitter today. During the pre-draft process, RJ was on First Take. And Stephen A. Smith asked, and at the time, we all knew the Knicks had the 3rd pick, and we all had a feeling that RJ was going to be a Knick. And Stephen A. Smith asked RJ, how do you feel about being a New York Knick? Like, can you handle that pressure if they do draft you? And this was his words. I forgot what he said before. He's like, yeah, I'm built for New York. Like my confidence, like that's the reason why I'm excited, because my confidence, I'm built for New York. Like right when he said that, I'm like, draft this man right away. Like the confidence that he exuberates at such a young age gives me the confidence. And guys, I'm going to have to keep reminding you, because it's just mind boggling that he's the youngest player on this team. Like he is being handed the keys to the kingdom, and now he's being the playmaker that I've always wanted him to do. And I said it earlier, Randall deserves a lot of credit because he's allowing RJ to take over the offense now. If Randall was, had an ego and he was like, oh no, I'm not playing well, the Knicks fans are turning against me, I got to prove them wrong, I got to take all the shots, I got to be the number one option. Like if you watch the game last night and the last couple of games, Randall's being passive. Randall's giving the ball to RJ. Thibodeau's calling sets for RJ. The ball's being run through RJ. So Randall deserves credit because it takes a lot. Because last year, Randall was the number one option. Randall was the all-star. Randall was the savior of the franchise. Randall was the guy. And now we all know that Randall's going through a lot right now mentally. He's not playing his best basketball. There's a lot of frustrations with him. The fan base is turning on him, and his play is warranted. He's not playing as well as we expected from him after giving him that big contract. But I feel like Randall deserves credit just in terms of allowing RJ to be the featured guy throughout this offense. And the fact that the Knicks front office, the Knicks coaching staff is seeing that, because there were so many times this year that Knicks fans, including myself, were like, can we please call sets for RJ? Like he needs to get the ball because we're icing him out too much. Like, do you think the Knicks should continue to let RJ run the show in terms of like calling plays for him? Because not only is he dropping some, crazy stats in terms of points, but he's a great playmaker. Driving to the rim, he throws lobs to Mitch. He has great rim reads. Like I feel like the ball needs to be in RJ Barrett's hands way more often. And ever since they hit that game winner against the Celtics, he's been on another level.
Yeah, I think they need to keep riding the hot hand, especially for a kid that's gaining this confidence and hitting career highs now, right? Like, even if RJ finds himself, being maybe a little inconsistent, maybe he has some games where, he's not balling out to the length that we've seen over this past 7 to 9 game stretch. I think you need to keep riding with him because he's clearly the future of this team. And I loved Randall last season. I've had a lot of ups and downs about Randall this year, but I think when you look long term, there really is no denying that RJ is that guy. He is the leader of this team going forward. And Randall's going to be a huge piece as long as he's still with this club. Absolutely. But they need to keep riding with him. You're absolutely right. And they just need to continue to build this youth movement because the Knicks are finally doing well developing young talent, at least when it comes to, gain the most out of them of recent, RJ. And also just you look at smart draft picks again. I love Grimes. I think that he's really going to be similar to Reddish in the sense of just being a Swiss Army knife. I think that the Knicks can utilize him in a lot of different ways. I love that about him. Same thing with Deuce. We saw him, he ball out. He had, a career high, like roughly 40 points with, what was it?
The G League team.
Yeah, the G League. And then he got caught up right away. They're ready. They're here. And the Knicks just need to keep doing this. I don't want to see the Knicks go all out and trade for, a grizzled vet. I want to see them continue to build this youth movement because keep building. They have plenty of young kids. They have plenty of picks. They were able to part with this pick that was a protected pick too, money add. So it's not like that they're giving up anything insane. So overall, I'm really loving what the Knicks are doing now, the trend that they've been on, of course, but riding the hot hand with the young kid on the club. There's a reason why you drafted RJ so high, and there's a reason why he's balling out now. Continue to build that confidence with him. And I think his confidence will honestly only grow more when he gets a buddy like Cam Reddish with him, because let's not undermine just how good of a player Cam Reddish is. Again, I know that he hasn't necessarily had a stellar start to his NBA career, but as you alluded to already earlier, if you look at his numbers, especially per 60, again, he's averaging over 18 points a game. And he's only started in 7 games this season. Like, if you look at him when it comes to 3, he's 38%. Field goal, 40%. Like, these are all the best numbers of his career thus far. And I say just continue to let him eat. Continue to let him get minutes. The guy hasn't even played a full season yet. He had 58 games, only 34 starts year 1. 26, again, it was short season. 26 games, 21 starts in year 2. Year 3 now, 34 games, only 7 starts. This guy needs to get more minutes. Let them cook together. I'm excited. I'm just, all I can say is I'm excited. I don't see how the Knicks lost this move in any way. And I'm also curious to know what your take is, if at all, regarding Hill. I'm not sure if he's going to have any impact on this team at all. I'm not sure if it was just for the sake of taking the contract. So what's your take on Solomon Hill, if he's going to bring anything or not to the Knicks? Because I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I think Solomon Hill might just be a guy that was included in the trade for cap relief. He's 30 years old. He doesn't really play at all for for the Hawks. I mean, he's not even averaging a full point per game. I think
Yep.
he's just a cap relief guy. He had to be included because the Knicks have a lot of money. So it's just like the Hawks are, they're in cap hell. They're trying to rebuild this team. They're trying to do something. So I think he's not going to be on the team. I don't think Hill's going to be even touching the court. Just like when the Knicks traded for Denzel Valentine, he was a Knick for 2 hours and then we cut him. So I think that's that. And I love this take right here. RJ is Tibbs' new Jimmy. I agree. If you guys remember, like I've always compared RJ to Jimmy Butler. Like go look at Jimmy Butler's career in terms of his rookie season, his year number 2, year number 3. RJ's ahead of him. Jimmy did not come out of the gate like a superstar like he is today. So I love that take right there. And I love that also, Tyler, your take on the Knicks building, with their draft picks, because before you got in, I reminded everybody how important that it is to build this team through the draft. And I went over all the draft picks that they've had from 2018 to 19, 20, 21. So I'm going to remind you what the Knicks have done, how Scott Perry, our GM, did in 2018, 2019, and then Leon Rose came in and he took over when we drafted quickly. So back in 2018, we drafted Kevin Knox in the first round. That turns into Cam Reddish now. And then the second round, we find Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson is absolutely being a menace. Last night, 19 points, 10 boards, back-to-back double-doubles. So he's becoming a mini Shaquille O'Neal, baby. Love Mitch. And then 2019, RJ Barrett. We all know what he's becoming. And this is all through the draft, right? 2020, we go out there and we draft Obi Toppin and we get Emmanuel Quickly. And then this past year's draft class, we make a trade, right? Just to remind everybody, the trade, the pick that we gave up for Cam Reddish, that pick was Charlotte's pick because we had the 19th overall pick and we traded that pick away for a future pick. And at the time, people were like, oh, why are we doing that? I want a rookie right now. Why are we trading it for a pick in the future? Well, it's because Leon Rose is a forward thinker and he understands we need capital for the future in order to be aggressive in trades like this. So that was phenomenal. And we also get Quentin Grimes, we get Deuce McBride, and Jericho Sims, and we also get Rokas Jokubaitis, who's playing overseas and is killing it. And we see what Deuce has been doing in the G League, even when he's playing on the Knicks. So that's just crazy that what the Knicks have through the draft in the past 4 years is not talked about enough. Because you see what the Golden State Warriors did with the dynasty they built through the draft with Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green. You see the Milwaukee Bucks, they just won a championship through the draft with Giannis Antetokounmpo.
And that took them a while, Shit doesn't happen overnight. I think Knicks fans know that very well.
So what's your thoughts about the young core that we have, all draft picks, and include Cam Reddish to the young core? Like we got Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett, Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickly, Obi Toppin, Deuce McBride, Jericho Sims, and then add Cam Reddish. That's 8 guys that are like 23 years old or younger that could be big-time pieces for this team moving forward. And then obviously you surround them with veterans like a Julius Randle, like a Kemba Walker, like a Derrick Rose. That's the team that we got right now. And I feel like the future of this team is just, I don't know, man. The foundation being laid from Leon Rose in the front office, they got a vision.
They have so many options, and this is a win-win situation for them. And again, all the credit in the world of Leon Rose and everyone involved in drafting the past couple of years, because it's easy to look at and see these picks and say, oh, they don't really mean too much because the Knicks haven't had an insane amount of success. Yes, they made the playoffs last year, but that was really their first, coming out party with this new group, right? But what they have proven to us, and I see a lot of this in similarities with my favorite teams for different sports, is that they're in such a win-win spot here where as they continue to grow and as they continue to get older, they will have a plethora of options, and those options that say aren't a fit on the team, but still have value, they can part with elsewhere. Knox is a good example too. And look, I know that Knox is really that pick that really didn't bode well for the Knicks looking back at this point, but he's still someone that had some type of value, which ended up being a piece in this Cam Reddish deal. That's still a big deal. So the Knicks can continue to do that in the years going forward. They're going to continue to build, and what doesn't work, or maybe just the guys are on the outside looking in, not for lack of effort, but just because you don't have room because your team's so deep, then you can get creative and part with those guys in bigger deals to really address the whatever holes you have in your lap. Maybe you need to go and get yourself a shooter, but that actually knows how to play defense, something that unfortunately Fournier doesn't know much about. Like just thinking, as an example down the road here, like they're going to have plenty of options. And when you have a plethora where you can be willing to part with guys, even though that you really like them, but knowing that's not going to hurt you in your short or long-term future, and you're focusing on winning over these next couple of years, you can do it. So the creativity is huge. The draft depth is huge. The Knicks are so deep, and I really do think that it gets overlooked by the casual fan. And I'm someone that, again, I'm a diehard Knicks fan, but I don't watch every game religiously, and I can still tell you that I'm fully aware on what's been going on with their movement, and this is what they need to continue to build. Do not lose track of what has gotten you this point. Now just make sure that you're continuing to stay the course, trust the process, if you will. Not that I'm trying to reference the Sixers over here, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the foundation is laid. And I just want to remind everybody that we are building through the draft. And I've been begging the Knicks to be able to build through the draft because all past regimes are trying to buy people in free agency, trade for established veterans, trade our entire young nucleus. It feels like we finally got the right people involved. And we got a nice donation from What's Good Brandon. We still need a point guard. Should we hit the Kings? Thank you for the $2 donation, my man. We do need a point guard because, our two veteran point guards are both injured. Alec Burks is playing point, which I'm not a big fan of. I'd rather Alec Burks not play the point guard position. But I still feel like Emmanuel quickly has potential to take over the point guard role. And also don't sleep on Deuce. Don't sleep on Deuce. Like, he went out there and ran the point for the G League team, and he dominated. 39 points, 7 assists, and 8 rebounds or something like that. Like, yeah, I understand it's a G League. You can't read too much into it. But the fact that he goes down there and not only plays well, but he dominates. And it's not like we haven't seen Deuce McBride play well on the Knicks against real NBA talent, because he has. So you never know. Deuce can become a really good point guard, maybe a future backup, or maybe the starter, because Deuce looks crazy. Like, his offensive game is through the roof. I love everything I'm seeing. But, yeah, we definitely don't have, the long-term point guard for the future yet. But I would not count out Quickly in Deuce, because we got to realize that Quickly's learning the point guard position. And I feel like he's a guy that, I wouldn't feel comfortable with him being the franchise point guard, but Quickly has a lot of potential still to grow. His shooting, his energy, his defense is very underrated for Quickly, and Deuce McBride as well. So there's a lot of moves to be made. I feel like the Knicks actually have some potential moves to be made. I feel like this move actually sets up the Knicks for a potential trade, because we got a lot of guards and wings on this roster that we have to configure. Like, who's going to play, who's not going to play. I went over the potential lineup right now, but that's when Kemba Walker and Derrick Rose are not playing. So I wonder how it's going to work when they are healthy. Like, when Kemba Walker is healthy and Derrick Rose is healthy, who's going to be left out? Is Grimes going to be left out? Is it Cam Reddish? I mean, I have no idea, because the interesting thing about this trade, we gave up Kevin Knox, but Kevin Knox was not in the rotation. So that makes you wonder, like, how is Cam Reddish going to fit into this? Evan Fournier, obviously has not been having a great season for the Knicks, but luckily in the past couple of games, after that 41-point bomb against the Celtics, he's been playing really good basketball. He's hitting his shots. He's facilitating for others. So I feel like when Evan Fournier is hitting on all cylinders, this team is on another dimension, because last night we saw what happens when all of our starters play well. All 5 guys were in double figures. RJ had the 32-point bomb. Mitchell Robinson had 19 points. Even Randall had 17. Fournier was in double figures. So it feels good to have the starting lineup play well together. But it's going to be really interesting to see how Cam Reddish gets implemented into this rotation, whether it's going to be with the bench, because we need to see him on this team with RJ Barrett on the court, because we all know the chemistry is there. So I want to ask you a question about the Duke connection with Zion Williamson, because a lot of Knicks fans are making memes on Twitter. They're having the Thanos, one more to go. We got 2 of the 3 trios. Obviously, first of all, Zion Williamson hasn't played a game this year. He has not really been able to, I think Zion Williamson, we all know, is an absolute star when he's on the court. But the problem with Zion so far is staying in shape and being healthy. And now a lot of Knicks fans, and a lot of not even Knicks fans, like NBA fans, are like looking at the Knicks like, okay, the Knicks are guaranteed to get, Zion Williamson in a couple of years. So do you think that this means that Zion could be on the Knicks in like 2023, 2024 in the future?
The Knicks have the pieces. So let's clear the air on that one. They have the amount of young talent and picks to make it happen. Yes. How long of a leash are the Pels going to have with Zion? That's something I don't know either. But I do hope that we could see Zion. Look, I wanted Zion more than anyone else. You agree too. I remember your reaction when the Knicks did not get the first overall pick. You were pissed, and we all were, especially as myself being a Duke fan. I'm blessed that we have RJ, But I will say a couple things about Zion quick. One, stop blaming the man. He's got soul food in Louisiana. You think it's going to be easy to not gain all that weight? He's a big boy. He's still growing basically. But all jokes aside, I think Zion is going to have a really strong career. I know that he went through a lot, of course, with his injury, and obviously gaining the amount of weight that he did is a big deal. But I do think that he is someone that, of course, is not going to spend his entire career with the Pelicans, and not even remotely close. And I do think that this would build further enticement. If the Knicks can somehow, some way over the next couple of years get Zion, that would be phenomenal. I mean, let's not underestimate his talent as long as he is healthy. And think about how young he is in his career too. People are already writing off Zion because everything that's transpired. Trust me when I say, once he's back and in a groove of things, he's going to dominate. He was literally one of the most electrifying players in basketball in such a short period of time. So similar to Cam, Cam's dealt with injuries earlier in his career too. Like, I know it's not to the same length, but Zion Williamson is going to be a menace once he's back up and rolling. And I do not think that he is someone that should be underestimated. And I think if the Knicks can go all out and get him, he's the type of player that you go all out and get as long as everything goes fine with his health. And, I do think that the Knicks would be an organization that can kind of strain him up a bit. The pressure is so high in New York, of course. I don't think it's wrong to say that it's a very different level when you're with a team like the Pelicans. Let's be real here. So I really, really do think that's something that can happen. Whether over the next couple of years, only time will tell. We have no clue right now. But I love the idea of the Knicks. If they're going to trade for young pieces, trade for young, great talents. And going back to, for a second, how you mentioned with the Kings from a donation, I'm all on board. I mean, there aren't many players that I want to see the Knicks give up a plethora of assets for. As I said, I think that they need to continue to build with what they have. I will say it is players like De'Aaron Fox that are an exception. Like, I don't even think you second guess that, especially with Fox having a down year. Pretty sure he's shooting from three, like 24% or something. It's pretty low. He's having down in a lot of ways. The Kings are always a mess. Unfortunately, their fan base deserves better for sure. But Fox, he's only 24. He's high flying. He's a great shooter. And that's exactly what I would want. If the Knicks are going to go all out and do a big trade, do it for someone that's going to be your long-term point guard. Like, I love Dame Dollar more than anyone else, but if you look at the comparisons, like for a Knicks team that's on the up and up with a young core, I would probably want Fox because of that longer-term impact that he would have over potentially someone like Dame. Don't get me wrong, I would lose my mind if the Knicks got Dame still. But point being, if you're going to give up these young assets, do it for someone that's not already just a really strong talent, but someone that's still young himself, that he can really build with you guys for a long period of time. That is Fox. So, yeah, I'm completely on board with potentially doing a deal with the Kings. That is an exception in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the point guard spot is the missing piece of the puzzle of the Knicks becoming an actual competitive team in the Eastern Conference, not only just like a play-in tournament team or not just like a first-round team, but like competing in the Eastern Conference. I think that's the one missing piece of the puzzle. But I will say for the long-term success, like the short-term success, obviously the health of Kemba and D Rose is unfortunate. Hopefully they can both be healthy by come like March, April playoff time, because we need them, the veteran presence, those point guards are big time because we're missing out on those guys. I'm all in on De'Aaron Fox as well. I feel like his trade value is not really that high right now. If the Knicks can give up, obviously if we have to trade for Fox, we're going to have to part ways with some of our picks. Some of our own picks like a Quickly or an Obi or a Grimes or a Deuce. And hey, I think Fox is a very good point guard in this league. He's very young, and I would love the Knicks to go all in. Potentially, if the Kings are looking to get rid of him. And when it comes to Zion, if the Knicks would get Zion, I think it would be smart to wait for him to hit free agency, so we don't have to give up anything, because he's a free agent like in 2 years. So throw him the bag. We're gonna have cap relief by then. And we can hold on to our picks. We can hold on to our foundation that we got laid, and we'll let RJ develop over time. And by then, I think RJ is going to be like the guy on the Knicks.
Exactly. As long as RJ and Cam, are here and they're doing well, they're thriving, you'd have to think that would be a lot of enticement for someone like Zion, who was fully prepared to go to the Knicks. Like, there was so much buildup leading into his draft year, of course, and it seemed like the Knicks, of course, would be that team. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I don't even really say unfortunately. Everything happened for a reason. I love RJ, and again, being a Duke fan, it was a win-win situation. I was going to win either way. If they got RJ or Zion, I was like, all right, bet. I'm going to be really happy. But yeah, to your point, free agency is definitely probably the best area to target him if you can keep those guys. But yeah, all in all, Knicks have just so many different assets. There's so many different ways to go about things. And their future is unbelievably bright. And it's going to be curious to see how the rest of the season goes. It's going to be curious to see if they do any other trades of significance before the deadline is up. So, yeah, exciting times. When is the NBA trade deadline? I know it's looming soon, right?
Yeah, I think it's sometime in February. I'm going to double check.
That's what I figured, sometime in February.
Let's see. Trade deadline is, February 10th. So it's coming up.
Yeah, less than a month away already. It's crazy.
It's getting hot. Trade deadline is heating up. Who knows if Ben Simmons will get moved? The Lakers are looking to move some people. They're a mess over there on the West Coast. The Hawks are looking to trade everybody. If there was a report saying that the Hawks are interested to trade everybody on their team besides Trae Young and Clint Capella. So that's crazy to hear that. So the NBA trade buzz is going to be crazy, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen.
You think Collins is going to get dealt?
I feel like he's the last guy on that team with value in terms of like a young player, Bogdanovich and Gallinari, like they're veterans and they have value.
Bogdan's still a good shooter.
Yeah, Bogdan's good. But Collins is like their young guy. Like Cam Reddish had value in terms of this being young, and the best is yet to come. But I feel like the Knicks have a chance to make some moves, and the Hawks are going to be selling. And the Knicks, and it's crazy because the Hawks beat us in the playoffs, and now here they are. They're 17-23, and they're selling instead of buying. The Knicks are buying, baby. You love to see that the Knicks are buying at the deadline instead of selling, because that means we're trending in the right direction. And when it comes to another potential Knicks trade, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in terms of who they're going to target and what position it's going to be, who they're going to have to give up. Do they give up a veteran? Do they give up Fournier? Do they give up Randall? Do they give up – I personally don't think Randall's going anywhere with that contract he has. I don't feel like any team is going to be interested in trading for him. But it's going to be crazy to see how Cam Reddish and RJ Barrett really fits well together as well. I feel like that's something that Knicks fans should be really excited about. Guys, we have over 300 people watching this stream right now. That is awesome. As you guys know, breaking news, the Knicks have Cam Reddish on the team. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button. Let's get to 200 likes before the stream is all wrapped up. That would be greatly appreciated. We got 300 likes with 156 likes. So if you guys did not smash that thumbs up button, make sure you do so for your boy. Greatly appreciate it. So we get as many Knicks fans in here across the world to celebrate the news that the Knicks got a new player on the roster in Cam Reddish, baby. You love to see it. So now let's talk about this Knicks team. As moving forward, the Knicks are now 21-21 on the season. We're back to 500. We're on a 5-game winning streak at home. We've won 7 of our last 10 games, so we're 7-3 since Christmas. RJ Barrett had a game winner against the Celtics. Ever since then, he's been on an absolute tear. And they're playing good together. The starters. I feel like the starting lineup has been the issue for the Knicks all season long, and now I feel like everything is coming together. Last night was probably the most impressive victory of the season in terms of playing 48 minutes of good basketball and not only like relying on the bench to do your dirty work. The Knicks played well in the first quarter. In that third quarter, we start off on a 14-1 run. All 5 starters finish in double figures, and that's a really good sign because the starting lineup, they're finding to get their rhythm, and they're allowing RJ Barrett to really take over this team, and a big shout out to Tom Thibodeau as well. So what do you want to see from the Knicks moving forward? Because we're back to 500. Obviously, best case scenario, we stay there and we go over it. We never go back under it. So what do you want to see from the Knicks moving forward, including with Cam Reddish, in order to, finish off the season on a high note? Because we're at the halfway mark in the threshold of the season. So now we're heading into the second half.
Balance. RJ is that perfect example, showing that consistency. That's what us Knicks fans, including myself, have been whining all year long. Not just with him, but with this entire damn starting 5. The Knicks went from having the worst starting 5 in literally NBA's history to start out this season in a lot of ways to finally gain more on a rhythm. That's what I want to see. Look, I'm not asking RJ Randall to drop 30 every night. If they can, that's awesome, but just be consistent. Get around 20. Just as long as they can be consistent and Randall can eliminate the amount of games where he drops literally just 2 points, that's huge for this team. These are the guys that we're relying on. And same thing with the bench. Bench has been clutch in so many ways this year. That depth is going to continue to be huge for them. IQ, I want to see him continue to develop, obviously. I want to see the same thing with Obi. Obi thrives so much at times, but, he still has his inconsistencies. So just having the right balance and knowing the proper people that you're supposed to be closing with. The starting 5, they need to keep acting like the starting 5. I think last game, I think you can make the argument that was the best game that they've had for the starters all season long.
Sure.
Thankfully, right? It's better now than never, right? You need to have it happen at some point. So just continue to be consistent. If you are consistent, you're automatically going to get more wins. That's just the nature of the game. I'd much rather the Knicks be on a more consistent level. The guys are shooting fine versus say, maybe RJ drops 40 a night, but then he goes and has, a subpar next 5-10 games. Like I don't want that. I don't want singular performances. I just want a team, a collaborative effort. That is how this group is going to continue to get success. They have the depth to make it happen. They're showing that they can make it happen. They're showing more of those flashes from last season with really being on a roll, a team in unison. We're seeing some less frustrations with Randall outside, of course, the thumbs down thing, which we won't get into. We've talked about that so many times with the Mets as it is. But point being is just be consistent. Just be consistent. That's literally all I ask. The Knicks continue to do that. Naturally, the wins are going to continue to come, and then they should find themselves in a playoff spot.
Yeah, I think the consistency is the key. And another thing that the Knicks have been finally doing as of late, which is a big reason why we're winning games, and I think is the backbone, the identity of the culture that they're brewing, especially with the Tom Thibodeau team, and that's defense. Last night, we put Luka Doncic in jail. Luka Doncic couldn't do anything. And just so you guys remember, the Mavs are no scrub team. They're on a 6-game winning streak heading into that game, and we dominated them. The defense was phenomenal. We held the Mavericks to 85 points. The defense was playing great together. Like we all know, in order for a Tom Thibodeau defense to thrive, everybody has to be on the same page. All 5 guys have to be on a string. The communication has to be stellar. And another big reason I think the defense was really good last night is because Nerlens Noel was back in the lineup for the first time in a while. And if you get Mitchell Robinson and Nerlens Noel healthy, and we have an elite rim protector on the court at all times. And I feel like we missed that last year with Mitch being down all season long. And you got to give credit to Taj Gibson, of course. He's filling in for whenever those two goes down. And Taj Gibson is a perfect depth piece to that bench guy, the 37-year-old vet. But the defense has been taking a big-time step recently. And we all know that's the identity of this team. And that's why the Knicks were so good last year. We were top. And we were like number 1 in the league in pretty much every single defensive category. But right now, as we're at the moment this year, it's not been the case. We're in the bottom of the league in defense. We're wondering why, what's happening. Is it the personnel? Is it the structure? Is it the coaching? Like what's going on? But luckily, the defense has been taking big time steps. They've been playing together. They've been getting their hands on the ball. They've been rotating. They've been getting to the 3-point line, contesting shots. The rebounding has been better. Julius Randle, even though he's not been playing well in terms of efficiency from the floor, but you cannot, say that Randle's not helping on the boards because rebounding is such a big piece to basketball that I feel like a lot of people overlook because you do not get a defensive stop without a defensive rebound. And also Mitchell Robinson is a big reason for that. So what's your thoughts on the Knicks defense and how important that is for the future of this team? Because we've won 7 of our last 10 games, and I think defense was a big reason for it.
Absolutely. And if you look at something that I think is important too, where defensively, the young kids are stepping up, obviously. They've been doing that. And that's something where I know that there's been a lot of controversies this year with Kemba, when he was taken out of the rotation and with him not really being part of things right now for different reasons. But I honestly think that when you look at what's riding hot for this team, like Kemba's a great presence and I love the guy. But especially when he's up and going again, Rose, I want to see. But I definitely, I think the Knicks need to continue to be smart and rolling out what they're doing. I think that Kemba should continue to be limited when he's fully healthy and everything too. I think that this team right now is the team that's going to help build them success down the stretch here. And D Rose will be huge, especially. I don't know exactly when he's going to be back. Do you have any word on that? Because I know that's going to be
surgery, and it said around like 8 to 10 weeks when it happened, which was like early December. So I'm hopeful that by March, April, he'll be good to go. But as of right now, there's no word.
Okay. So yeah, either way, you're not going to have him basically for, down the stretch, the majority of the season still. So I just keep rolling what you're doing, and it'll be exciting when Rose gets back, how much of impact that he will have. But I really think that you need to continue to trust this youth movement and let RJ continue leading the way. I really like the balance that they have now offensively and defensively. And, unfortunately, with someone like Kemba, he is so one-dimensional with his game at this point. And again, it's not his fault. Injuries, what he's dealt with the past couple of years, are a big factor as to why. And Fournier too. I think Fournier has been a good shooter for the Knicks in certain situations. So just continue to be strategic about how you utilize those guys. Make sure that you're not going overboard. And I think that's going to bode the Knicks well and having continued success.
I think Evan Fournier is a very interesting topic because, like, not gonna lie, when we signed him, like my initial instinctual reaction to it was, uh, like I don't know, I wasn't a fan of it at the time. The contract we gave him, it's a 4-year deal, but we can get out of it in 3 years. He's had a very up and down season. I wish he can versus the Celtics every single game. But
Right.
ever since that 41 bomb against the Celtics, he's been playing good basketball.
Every game he's like, I took that seriously.
Yeah, right. And the Knicks are like pretty much undefeated, or like the record's crazy. Whenever Fournier drops 17 or more, the Knicks are like, I don't know the record on the top of my head, but it's like 15-1 or something crazy like that. And Fournier is a big piece to this team when he plays well. And when he's hot, like when Fournier is clicking like that Celtics game when he had 10 threes, he's like Steph Curry. I mean, he's Klay Thompson. He's one of the greatest shooters you'll ever see because his jump shot is butter. Like it's beautiful to look at when it's falling. But there are some times like he hits difficult shots. But in order to hit the difficult shots, you got to take difficult shots. And when you miss the difficult shots, it gets frustrating.
Yep.
So what's your thoughts on Fournier? I feel like last night we saw the potential of this team when RJ and Randall and Fournier all play well together. Obviously, we cannot bank on that every single night. And, myself included, a lot of Knicks fans, we have mixed feelings about Fournier. He has some games where, the craziest part about Fournier is the game before that 41-point bomb, he had 0 points. So he's very inconsistent. He's either hot or he's cold, but when he's hot, his potential's through the roof. So what's your thoughts on Evan Fournier, and what do you hope to see from him for the rest of the season?
I mean, looking back, I definitely wish the Knicks didn't do that contract. And this isn't to anything personal to Fournier, but you can just tell, Boston Celtics fans are preaching it, that like they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. I remember that first game of the season going in overtime. You were there for that game, a huge game. And of course, Fournier balled out. I think he had a career high that night in the first game of the season, but you can tell the inconsistencies soon followed if we're not playing Boston. So look, we have to deal with his contract for now. So if you're going to do that, then just be very particular about how you utilize him. Make sure that you're trying to get him in the best matchups possible, and just make sure that he's not someone that is going to be a detriment to your defense down the stretch in games. That's a big one too, because there's been plenty of points this season where we've seen him out there when he really shouldn't have been out there because he was a net negative, unfortunately, defensively. And the Knicks, of course, have had their ups and downs defensively this year. So just be smart. He's definitely a big shooter. He can definitely ball out for us. Consistency, we should expect that from him. So as long as we can kind of alleviate the amount of times that we're going to see him so hot and cold and try to get him in a spot that's most comfortable, continue to do that. He's definitely a sharpshooter, but someone that you shouldn't bet on every single night. So just get smart about it. Be strategic about how you bring him in, and I think that's going to do well for him.
Interesting. And the next player I want to talk about, which I think is the most underrated piece to this Knicks team, and we saw what he did last night, absolutely dominating, taking over the game, and that's Mitchell Robinson.
Yes.
Mitchell Robinson he's taken over. I mean, I feel like he's breaking out before our very eyes. He, by the way, holds the NBA record for the highest field goal percentage in NBA history this season. I know that the season got cut short, but sorry, Wilt Chamberlain. Mitchell Robinson broke your record there. We all know that Mitchell Robinson came into the season out of shape. He put a lot of muscle on, but he had foot surgery. So all he could do in the offseason was put, upper body muscle on, and he got built. But then when he got on the court, he kind of was out of shape. He didn't really know how to balance his body out. And now he's down to 240. He's playing great on the glass. I mean, every single time. And RJ Barrett spoke to the media last night, and it's really interesting to hear him say this. Sometimes even RJ and some other players, like the coaches tell them, if they go into the paint and they know Mitch is down there, just throw it up on the rim, because if it doesn't go in, Mitch is going to clean it up. And I love that mindset. And now that RJ said that, it kind of makes sense, because there is some times where RJ is in the paint and he kind of just flicks it up and it's like a miss. And I'm like, what kind of shot was that? And then I realized, like, oh, he's doing that because he has trust in Mitch to go get that offensive rebound and get that putback dunk. So what's your thoughts of Mitchell Robinson? He's coming off a dominant performance last night. He was 9 of 10. I think all 9 of them were dunks. Every time he gets the ball in his hands in the paint, it's an automatic dunk. He obviously needs some things to clean up, like the free throws. But hey, he's a big man. You can't really expect. Shaquille O'Neal was the greatest, one of the most dominant centers of all time. We all know his free throw percentage was never that good. So what's your thoughts of Mitchell Robinson? And do you think that he's a big piece to this team in the future? And should they look into extending him?
I do think he's a big piece to the future, as it all comes down to health. It's crazy. Foot feet problems are always a problem, not just for Mitch, but you think about Zion too. Like all these big guys that have offensive production too, that go in the paint. It's unfortunate, but it does happen, obviously. But something huge about Mitch is, he's that lone offensive production when you're looking at a guy in his position right now. Like you're not, I very rarely do you see stuff from Nerlens. Of course, Taj can bring you some things at times, but offensively, it's Mitch first and foremost before anyone else there. So I love that aspect about him. I'm loving how he has progressed this season because obviously he started the season not necessarily doing well health-wise. It took him a bit too. I know that, him from getting sick too was an issue for a while. So all these factors went into him having his inconsistencies, but he's really showing the Mitch that we've known at this point and then some. And yeah, I love him. I would definitely consider extending him as long as the Knicks are in a spot where they view him as their long-term guy. But yeah, overall, loving Mitch. I'm happy to see him get more on a consistent role here, and he's devastating to opposing clubs as long as he just kind of finds his groove. And he's so hard to go up against in the paint. I love everything about Mitch. Again, big thing with him, like everyone else, is consistency. But another young player that's still getting developed, still getting established, and truly trying to find his role solidified. So it's up and up for Mitch. I really like what I've been seeing from him.
Yeah, I think the only thing holding Mitch back is honestly durability and staying healthy. And so far this year, he's been healthy. He does get nicked up, it feels like, every game, but he still plays through it. And I think that's going to be the deciding factor if the Knicks want to extend him or not. If Mitch stays healthy for the rest of the season and he plays the way he's been playing, I think it's a no-brainer. You have to lock him up because, Thibodeau values him high. He's a difference maker. And I'll never forget, I think we were versing the Pistons or some game when he was just absolutely high-flying, alley-oops over everybody, dunking, and the opposing coach said, like, we just had no answer for Mitchell Robinson. Like, he was just – they were throwing up lobs to him, and the ball was so high to the point where none of our players can reach it, and he was just a force that we could not match up well against. And that tells you that he's a matchup nightmare. And we got a donation from Asia. He wants to know your thoughts on the Steelers.
Oh yeah, shout out Asia. Yeah, she's been a big supporter on my channel too. Yeah. If you guys don't know, I'm a Steelers fan. I haven't watched every game seriously this year. I've been frustrated with them. They somehow, some way sneaked in playoffs. They have no business being there. Any rational Steelers fan will tell you the exact same. But I'm excited. If they make anything of a game against those Chiefs, I'll be happy because we got wiped the floor with them a couple games ago. So I'm just happy for Ben more than anything. I know that most fans won't understand if you're not a diehard Steelers fan, but Ben has been our guy for 18 seasons now. This is his last hurrah whenever the season's done, even if it's done right after the Chiefs game. That's it for his career more than likely. So yeah, I'm excited for sure. I'm just happy to see him get one last run on things. Very low expectations. I'm hoping that the defense and TJ Watt, the best defensive player in the league, and that is a fact. Don't get it twisted. I think that's the only fighting chance that they have. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited.
We'll see how it goes. Good luck to your Steelers. Thank you, Asia, for the donation. Always appreciate the support. Wardy NYK, maybe you got to make a new channel, my man.
Yeah, maybe one day. You're holding it down just fine, though. I like coming on for these features every now and then. I think it's the way to go about things.
Trust me, I don't recommend making a third channel. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. Yep.
Yeah, man. There's so much things that we can get into. My boy James is in the chat. This is my buddy from home. What's good, James? Thank you for tuning in.
James.
RJ is going to be the face of the NBA one day. What do you got to say to this, Wardy? Do you agree with my buddy?
I mean, there's no reason not to believe that he's on an upward direction, right? Just continue doing what you're doing. As someone that has been a huge RJ fan literally since, he stepped into Duke for his first game, he has the potential. It's absolutely there. The Maple Mamba, as people love to call him. He has that swagger, the confidence to take over, especially being the biggest market in New York. Yeah, he definitely has the future of being one of the best players in the league. There's no doubt in my mind. Again, I know that might seem outlandish to a lot of fans. Are saying, "Oh my goodness, he's only been on a hot streak for 7 to 9 games." I get that, but when you actually look at what the issues have been with RJ and how to overcome those issues, and when he's rolling, then damn well that he's someone that can be a force for the Knicks for a very long period of time, and hopefully leading them to the promised land.
We got a generous donation. Thank you so much from Fugazi.
Fugazi.
With the $20. Thank you so much for the donation, my man. It really means a lot to the channel. $20 dono. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much, man. It means a lot. All the support that Knicks fans show on the channel, it just means so much to be part of this Knicks community. And I got a lot of people, just showing support, sending in the donations. Like, this donation means so much to the channel. Everybody hype in the chat for Fugazi right now. Everybody give that dono hype. He deserves it. Thank you so much for the $20 dono, my man. Means a lot. Means a lot. This deserves to stay on the screen for a couple more minutes because that was a very generous donation. Thank you so much, my man. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Did I see Berman's BS tweet? Yes, I did see that. See, this is what we have to deal with, Wardy. I don't know if you saw this, but we have to deal with the Mets beat. We have to deal with the Knicks beat. We have to deal with the Jets beat. All New York beat reporters suck, right? Mark Berman, who reports for the Daily News, the Post, NY Post, he tweets out, and you're a Duke fan, so you should attest to this. He's like, well, per sources, Cam Reddish and RJ Barrett didn't get along at Duke, so I don't know if this trade's gonna do anything. Do you think that's true? Did RJ and Cam Reddish not get along at Duke?
No, I think that's bullshit. To be quite honest with you, like, no, even if they did have some issues, I guarantee you went in hand with just that mentality that they're trying to win it all. You know, you're the guys you go to war with every day. You think that they're always all on the same page? Hell no. Like, no, I think that's what I promise you that if the Knicks knew that there was something of significance there that would be a huge locker room cancer, they wouldn't even consider the trade. And I can also promise you that RJ Barrett was a factor into landing Cam Reddish. I think you're a fool to think otherwise.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think it's just a beat reporter trying to, stir the pot a little bit. Like, I deal with this the most.
Hey, everyone's got to get their clicks somehow.
Yeah, like
that's
all my
New York.
Jets
That's
fans
New York
know
more than anything else. You know that very well.
Jets YouTubers are like making like T-shirts and everything, like boycott the Jets beat, and like only support Jets YouTubers, screw the beat, because they're just doing propaganda nonsense. And that's very similar to Berman, what he's trying to do, and spread these fake news about some negative things. And he's trying to get a paycheck, and he's trying to get the clicks and all that great stuff. Guys, we've been live for an hour and a half. This has been so much fun. I'm so excited. We got over 300 people at one point tuning in. This was just so much fun. I haven't really been live in a while on this channel, just because, I got a lot to deal with my other YouTube channels. We're going to open this up to a Knicks Q&A before we finish things off. So anybody that wants to ask any questions to Tyler and myself about this Knicks trade, please feel free to do so. If you guys want me to, I can even give you the link and you guys can join in and ask some questions, some call-ins. We can do that as well. So let me know in the chat anything you guys want us to talk about, whether it's the Cam Reddish trade, whether it's the potential of the Knicks for the future of this season, how we can get to the playoffs, how Cam Reddish is going to fit into the rotation, some trade scenarios for the future. There's a lot of things to get into from this Knicks team. And the Knicks got Cam Reddish. It's kind of like it hasn't really hit me yet.
I'm so pumped to see him and RJ back. I'm so pumped to see that. That gives me more incentive to make sure that I'm catching a lot of these games. It really does. Like, personally, it's a bigger deal to me than it is to a fan that doesn't follow Duke or even isn't a fan of Duke, especially. I know Duke gets haters left and right. I don't blame you. That Duke has been, the top of the mound for so long in college basketball. And this is Coach K's final year too, I believe. So, things are coming to an end slightly, but I'm excited to see Cam and RJ back together. It's going to bring back some very fond memories.
Oh yeah, baby. So someone says, just tuned in. I love this move, but I'm concerned about rotations. Yeah. So that's a big question when it comes to the rotations when Cam Reddish gets included here. We went over this earlier. When everybody's healthy, it's going to be really interesting to see who's playing and who's not. Because the big question is, Cam Reddish is replacing Kevin Knox, and Kevin Knox had no minutes on this team unless there was injuries. So if you look at last night as a sample size, we ran a 9-man rotation. So if you want to include Cam Reddish into the rotation, it'll be perfect because it'll make a 10-man rotation. We have the starting 5 from last night: Burks at the point, Fournier, RJ, Randall, and Mitch. And then off the bench last night, we had a 4-man bench in terms of Quentin Grimes, Quickly, Obi, and Nerlens. So I think Cam Reddish will fit into that bench unit for the short term, and then we'll figure it out when people get healthy. So I think the bench unit will be Emmanuel Quickly, Quentin Grimes, Cam Reddish, Obi Toppin, and then Nerlens Noel. So that sounds like fun to me. Do you like that 5 off the bench, like those 5 players playing well together? Obviously, we're missing out on the RJ Cam Reddish, but I think they're going to be on the court together just in terms of in the first quarter. Like, they're going to find minutes on the court together at the same time. But how do you feel about the 5 of Quickly, Grimes, Cam Reddish, Obi Toppin, and Nerlens Noel for like the short term in terms of like the next couple of games off the bench.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. And I think that off the bench too, that's going to give Cam some more ability too, versus if say he just was very limited in the starting. Like I think that him off the bench is going to bode him well to start. And then they'll figure out, of course, once everyone's healthy, how they want to go about things. But one thing I will say is that Cam was obviously traded here for a reason, right? He's a young, promising player still, and someone that the Knicks clearly view quite highly, at least to a certain level. And they're going to give him opportunity. That's what he wants. He wants more playing time. He has to deserve it, of course, because Thibs is not someone that's going to just throw, especially certain young kids, just all the playing time in the world. You have to earn it in a lot of ways. But I think he's going to do that, and him starting off the bench is perfect. I can't complain. I'm just more than anything, I just want to see how he's going to do, especially if his first game's against the Hawks. That's revenge tour season right there. So I'm expecting honestly him to potentially ball out. Like it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if we get some Fournier and Kemba versus Celtics action going on, but this time with him versus the Hawks.
Yeah, not only is it going to provide a big impact for the bench, but it also provides depth because injuries are still a thing, and you never know what could happen. In the starting lineup, somebody can go down. Burks can go down, Fournier, anybody that's ahead of him on the depth chart. You never know that Cam Reddish can slide into that starting role eventually, even if he plays well off the bench. But I really feel like that bench five gets me excited. I don't know if he's going to play Saturday night. I really hope he does because I'll be sick because I'll be at the game in Atlanta. So. Hopefully I won't get into any fights. Nah, I'll be smart. I'm not that type of fan. I'm not that type of fan. But the five bench players of Quickly and Grimes as the backcourt with Reddish and Obi, like that is such a fun young bench unit. Are you kidding me? Like I just feel like the Knicks have so many young players and they're going to play very freely. Cam Reddish is going to space the floor. We know that he has a money three-pointer. He was 8 for 10 at one point from downtown, that 30 bomb against the Bulls. And he plays up and down. He has, fresh legs that he can run with Obi. He can run with Quickly. He can run with Grimes. We got shooters because if you include Reddish to that bench five, we have Reddish, Quickly, and Grimes. All three of those guys can shoot the ball from downtown with ease. So I love that. I think that's going to be a really good bench five to start it off. And you never know what's going to happen throughout the rest of the season. A lot of different things are going to change. You never know. Reddish can all of a sudden become a starter. And I don't know who's going to replace. Maybe I don't even know. I have no idea who's going to replace because I can't see Fournier coming off the bench just because of the contract we gave him. And I don't really feel like he'd fit well with the bench. And I don't know. There's a lot of things to get into in hypothetical scenarios for this Knicks rotations with all these, the trades that's even going to come up. So, guys, any other questions in the chat? Don't forget to let us know. Wardy's a Knicks fan? Yes, sir. He's a Knicks fan. Wardy NYK channel coming soon.
You heard it here first.
Would I consider RJ running the point? I don't want RJ to, play point guard in terms of like starting at point guard, but I want RJ to run the show. Like, for example, Julius doesn't start at point guard, but Julius at times is the point forward. He dribbles the ball up and, whether it's good or bad, we know that's what he does.
I want RJ to do that.
Yeah, I want RJ to do that. There's a lot of sets that they've been calling for him that I love, like the pistol formation, where they give RJ the ball off a screen and it gives RJ a bunch of reads, whether it's if there's someone open in the corner, you spray it out. Or if there's an open lane to the basket, you drive and you have to make a read. If that center is going to either, try to contest you or they play the lob, that's where RJ has to make the right read. And I feel like RJ is such an underrated playmaker to the point where he deserves to be running the point at times, running the show. And I think the game this year that really showed me that RJ has the ability to run the show was against the Pelicans in New Orleans earlier in the season. That was the first time RJ was gifted the opportunity to be a clutch player and give them the victory. And I'll never forget, he had that game and then he kind of fell off a little bit. And then he had 7 or 8 games in a row of not playing well. And I'll never forget your takes. I don't know if you're in here or not, but you guys saying RJ stinks. We got to trade him. He sucks on an 8-game streak. And when I made a video, guys, about him, in his mishap. And I said, another reason why I believe RJ is going to get out of this is because, yes, RJ had a really difficult start to the year, but it gave us that game against the Pelicans. And that's a little glimpse of the future of the potential where everything comes together because he didn't just drop 30+ points, but he single-handedly won us that game. If you guys don't remember what he did, I think this picture of him right there, Wardy, like this, that's during that game. That's during the Pelicans game because he silenced the crowd. The Pelicans were coming back. It was late in the fourth quarter. RJ was running the show. He was running the pick and rolls. He was hitting his three-pointers late in the game, and he single-handedly won us that game. And that was the moment where I'm like, all right, he just showed you this is what happens when you allow RJ to be the focal point of the offense and not only be the focal point, but be a clutch player. And then all of a sudden we see RJ hit the game winner of his life against the Boston Celtics. Like,
yeah, that was awesome.
It's just a lot of positive things coming your way to RJ. I'll never forget all the crazy comments that I got on this channel about trading RJ and I'm delusional and he stinks and his potential is not as high as you say it is. Like, yeah, where you guys at right now? I don't see you in the chat. I don't see you guys on Twitter. You guys are awfully quiet all of a sudden. The RJ Barrett sucks train is just all of a sudden vanished. I don't know where you guys go. My boy James, I'm going to go to a game. Try to go to a game again, Rich. Let's plan it. James, I'm there. Let me know. Let's buy some tickets and let's go, baby. You already know. You already know I'll be at a game. Morty, we should go to a game in Philly because I know you live over there in Pennsylvania. I don't know when the next time they're going to Philadelphia, but
that's a good point. Yeah,
I would love to drive over there because I know you live close to there. That'll be sick.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any other questions in the chat? Let's see. Anything? Kelvin says RJ at the 1, Evan at the 2, Cam at the 3, Julius at the 4, Mitch at the 5. All right. Kelvin sees the vision of RJ running the show at the 1. What do you think this lineup would work for?
RJ at the 1, Evan at the 2, Cam at the 3, Julius at the 4, Mitch at the 5. Ooh, that's spicy. I like that. Yeah, I like the thought of the Cam at the 3. That's interesting. I don't know how well that would do from the jump, but that definitely intrigues me.
Yeah,
biasly, that intrigues me.
Yeah, RJ like starting at the point. I don't know. Like, I don't know, man. I think he has the potential to do it, but we'll see. RJ's been underrated since getting drafted. 100%. He got let off the All NBA rookie team. He's been disrespected, getting left off all the top. The top 25 players under 25 years old wasn't on there. RJ Barrett leads the NBA with the most 30-point games by any player that's 21 years old or younger. I can just list off all these stats that will just shut up all the RJ nonsense. You know what I mean? Like, just shush it. Steve Nash says, as a Hawks fan living in New York City, this by far is the worst day of my life. Steve, my apologies. You got us last year in the playoffs, right? I'll tell you, I got to ask you this question, Steve. Last year, you were probably jumping for joy in the playoffs, no?
You know what this is? This is Adam Sandler's moment in Uncut Gems where he's saying, this is how I win. Literally, if you know, you know.
Yeah, exactly. We got Hawks fans in the chat. Most of Hawks fans are freaking out. The best part about this trade is if you go to any report, if you go to Woj's tweet that broke the news and you look at the comments, all people like are roasting the Hawks and saying, wow, the Knicks fleeced them. Like, not Knicks fans. Like, it's not like biased Knicks fans are like, oh, we won the trade.
There are a lot of Hawks fans I've seen that aren't happy about this. And rightfully so. Like, I don't think you're wrong. Like, I really don't think you're wrong for feeling that way.
Yeah, I think that it's just a no-brainer. I mean, how can you not make this move by giving up a guy in Kevin Knox and a future first-round pick that's also protected? Like, that's another huge thing about the draft pick that we gave up, guys. It's protected. So if the draft pick next year is 16 or less, Hawks don't get it. The Hornets get their pick. Same thing year after that. So this pick that we gave up, it's not that valuable. So
it's like, not. And you know how up and down the draft is. It's so much more important to have the right scouts than it is to have the pick, especially when you're in the teens. Like, every single year, the NBA draft is such a crapshoot in the sense of there's all these inconsistencies. Like, there's so many guys I think will be guaranteed that aren't a guarantee that become busts so early on. Like, the NBA draft is really an unprecedented in a lot of ways, in my opinion, versus other sports. Like, you genuinely don't necessarily know what you're going to get from those guys, especially when you get into the mid to the latter half of the first round.
And the crazy thing, too, about the draft, and I didn't realize I had Pigeon Robinson on this banner this whole time. Because you're right, Tyler. The draft is not guaranteed for the NBA, and that's why you got to give the Knicks front office even more credit for hitting on Emmanuel Quickly,
exactly,
who was a 25th overall pick.
Love IQ.
Mitchell Robinson, who was a second-round pick. Quentin Grimes, who was a 25th overall pick. Deuce McBride, who was early in the second round, and Jericho Sims, who was a second-round pick. So, at first I'm like, oh my gosh, the Knicks don't have any lottery picks. Like, we're not gonna be able to build through the draft. But it doesn't matter where we're picking because they're hitting on these picks left and right. Like, how about that? Leon Rose coming here. Scott Perry deserves a lot of credit as well because he was the first guy that we brought in here during the era of Steve Mills, and he kind of instilled a long-term approach, signing guys to one-year deals, trading players for assets. And I feel like Scott Perry is going to be leaving the Knicks soon, probably for like a starting, like a GM job on another team, because that's how well of a job he's done for this Knicks front office. And like, it's really exciting to see that the Knicks actually have the right people in charge leading the way. And Tom Thibodeau is another reason for that. And I feel like Tom Thibodeau, a lot of Knicks fans are harsh on him. I understand that he's stubborn at times. But if you look at what Tom Thibodeau has done in his first year with the Knicks and now in year number 2, and you compare him to all the other Knicks coaches in recent years, he is light years ahead of all of them. Like, doesn't even compare. He has a winning record with the Knicks, and all the other 3 coaches in their first season and a half, losing record by like 40 games. So I don't want to hear fire Thibodeau and all this stuff. Yes, he has his flaws. He's not a perfect coach. He's stubborn at times. He has some things or rotational issues that we get. You know, no one's going to be perfect. Like, no one's going to be perfect. Tom Thibodeau won Coach of the Year in his first season with the Knicks. 2-time Coach of the Year. What's your thoughts about Tom Thibodeau and what he's done in terms of establishing a culture in year 1 and year 2? Obviously, he has a lot of things to work on this year. And I feel like now we're getting healthy and we're seeing the defense finally turn the corner, because that's what his identity is. Tom Thibodeau is a defensive-minded coach. If the defense doesn't work with Tom Thibodeau, the team's not going to play well. We're finally seeing them turn the corner, and hopefully Nerlens Noel being healthy will help that out. So what's your take on Tom Thibodeau as the coach for the Knicks?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely had his ups and downs this year, right? And look, not everything's on him, but between, you know, the late in game, who should be closing, who's coming off the bench, who should stay in, who should stay out, that's been frustrating. Well, I think what I've learned most about Thibs this second year with him is that he is just like any other veteran coach in the sense of they all have a shelf life, right? He's someone that really helped build this culture with this young group, which has been fantastic. But he's also someone where you understand that you have him, but you're going to have him for a certain amount of time. As long as the Knicks make sure that they ride things out with him properly and don't maybe, you know, have him overstay, you know, his welcome, if that makes sense. I don't think the Knicks should part with him this year or anything like that. But my point is that you just need to make sure that how you're evaluating him, that you're not too stuck in the honeymoon stage, which was last season with everything going right, him becoming, you know, Coach of the Year, which everything was just such an awesome story. But like anything else, this is going to have a shelf life. So just make sure that you're aware of that, and make sure that the Knicks front office is aware that they don't find themselves going down a slippery slope. If things do say get really bad, you know, down the road, maybe next season, the following season, whatever, where they just have such inconsistencies and things aren't changed. You know, there reaches a certain point where if change isn't made over a certain amount of time, something needs to happen, right? But I think Thibs is in a good spot right now. We learned a lot about him. I think we learned a lot more about him this year than even we did in his first year. He really built that culture up, but now it's kind of okay. Now the Knicks have expectations, and this doesn't just go for Tibbs. It goes for Randall, it goes for everyone involved now, right? And that was my personal biggest concern with the Knicks going into the season. I was worried because they had expectations. You know, it was so easy to ride the wave with them because we didn't expect anything from them last year. They went above and beyond in so many ways, and it felt like a fever dream. It was so exciting, it was so much fun. But as soon as you start to build expectations in New York, that pressure is unprecedented. And thankfully, they're getting more in a groove now, going to the second half. I want to see more of that, obviously, but yeah, that's a big thing for him, this learning experience in this market. We'll see how we'll do down the stretch for the Knicks. And overall, I've liked a lot that I've seen from him. I've liked far more things I have disliked about him. Let's put it this way. But yes, this year has definitely been an eye-opener in a lot of ways for me on the clear advantages and disadvantages that he has as a head coach.
Yeah, I think I agree with pretty much everything you said there. He has some things he needs to work on. He's coming off being the Coach of the Year. He's got a lot of things to work on in terms of his rotations and everything. And I'm excited for the future. I feel like Tom Thibodeau has, you know, because we have to realize what he did last year. Like, what he did last year was unbelievable with Elfrid Payton as a starting point guard and bringing us to the 4th seed, winning Coach of the Year. He deserves all of it. He really does deserve all of it. So, guys, before we end off the stream, I just want to keep talking about Cam Reddish because that's what this stream is all about. Cam Reddish is now a New York Knick. So I want to get into the chat. Give us your expectations for Cam Reddish. Is he going to light it up? Is he going to struggle at first? Is he going to be a guy that's going to get a lot of minutes, not a lot of minutes? So let us know in the chat. I want to hear what you guys have to say. And guys, also, if you can get to 300 likes before the stream is all wrapped up, that would be tremendous. Smash that like button for your boy. We got 250 likes. The stream is awesome. I love having I love having these streams and getting into the chat and having so much Knicks fans in the community to interact with all across the globe, not even New York. We got Knicks fans across the country. We got Knicks fans across the world. The Knicks fans are out there, and we are here, baby. Knicks, we here. You love that. You love that. So smash that like button for your boy. We greatly appreciate all the support. I'm an Atlanta Hawks fan. I'm sick and hurt, not to the Knicks. Yeah, man, I feel like a lot of Hawks fans are pissed that they traded Cam Reddish, but also it stings a little worse that it's to the Knicks, because
it is kind of crazy that the Knicks were able to get this done with a rival like this. You know what I mean? Like the Hawks are right below them in the standings right now too. Like it is kind of bizarre, because it's not like the Knicks threw the Hawks something that no contending team could have done, right? Like, let's be real here. So I think Knicks just lucked out in a lot of different ways here, especially with who they were trading with.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that we got Cam Reddish from the Knicks, and the Hawks and the Knicks are rivals all of a sudden just because of like the playoff series last year. There was no reason for it. And we have a big game Saturday. So let's get into the finish off the stream. Let's preview the game on Saturday night, because that is against the Atlanta Hawks. And I will be in attendance at State Farm Arena in Atlanta. So I'm really excited to be at that game. So I don't even know if Cam Reddish is going to be playing, first of all. But
I hope he does. Really hope he does.
It's a good question. Cam Reddish becomes a free agent next season? No, Cam Reddish is on the books for another 2 years. If we pick up his 5th-year option, which I'm assuming the Knicks will, his contract, he's eligible for an extension this year, just like RJ, and he'll be on the Knicks for the next 2 years and hit free agency after that, if we don't extend him, but we'll see what happens. So the Knicks are facing the Atlanta Hawks this Saturday night in Atlanta. The Knicks have won 7 of the last 10 games. We're riding a really good span of games where the defense is collected. We beat the Hawks twice this year out of the 2 games we versed them. When we went down to Atlanta the first time, we absolutely dominated them. Quentin Grimes was doing great things. Obi Toppin had a crazy dunk. I remember that game, and that was a big-time win at the moment, because the Knicks were not really looking good at that time. And then against the Hawks on Christmas Day, obviously the Hawks were, not looking good in terms of health and safety protocols. They did not have Trae Young that game, but we still dominated them. Julius Randle had one of his better games of the season. And now we're going up against the Hawks after they traded us Cam Reddish. And the Hawks are not looking good right now. They're 17-23. They're trying to sell all their players. They're trying to get a big-time trade going in their favor. So, Morty, what's your thoughts about this game coming up against the Atlanta Hawks? And if the Knicks get this dub, they're going to be 22-21. It'll be over 500. This is a big-time game for the Knicks.
This is a statement game. This really is. And I think obviously all Knicks have an edge to them a little bit, that were in the game in the series against the Hawks in the playoffs too. And I know that this isn't a playoff atmosphere. It's different. But point being is that, they have a fire under their ass a little bit more than when they play the Hawks, since this rivalry has really started to build over this past season. So I'm expecting a huge game for them. I'm expecting a huge game from RJ. Hopefully same thing with Randall and everyone else involved. And again, if Cam is playing, you'd have to think that he's going to really try to make the most of it. Especially, it's not like he doesn't know the team. He knows that team better than everyone, literally. Like, there's someone that knows how to take full advantage of say the negatives or the defensive issues that the opposing club has. That'll be Cam against the team that he was just with. So I love the thought of Cam playing. I really hope he does. And if he doesn't, it's not a big deal. But I hope he does. And yeah, this is a statement game for the Knicks. They need to get back above 500 and need to get on a roll. Let's get a gap going. Okay. This is a team that really has underperformed in a lot of ways this year, and a team that can definitely get back to where they were at times, especially last season, and even potentially take it above that. So got to get on a roll here. Let's start out, and let's just start by getting a massive win on the road against the Hawks.
Cam Reddish will score 35 points, predicted by a Hawks fan.
that would be insane. That would just be the biggest FU to the Hawks.
I'm so happy I'm going to this game. Like it can't be better where the Knicks are right now. Like the fact that the Knicks have are going into Atlanta to potentially go over 500 after literally trading with the Hawks to get Cam Reddish. It's unbelievable timing, and I cannot wait to be there. Stay tuned for content, guys. I'll probably go live while I'm at the game with my phone, pregame show or whatever. I'll try to be live during it, maybe make a little vlog out of it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully, I don't get killed in terms of just heckling at Hawks fans, because you know me.
Just
I
say
go,
you come in peace. You come
yeah,
in
I
peace.
come in peace. I'll be
I
screaming
just
my.
want to see. I just want to see you guys get your ass whooped. But I come in peace. I come in peace.
And guys, this is a big time game in terms of taking the regular season series against the Hawks, because we've faced them 4 times this year. We beat them the first 2. If we win this one, then we win the series and we have the tiebreaker against them in case we are tied down the line. Because remember, the Knicks swept the Hawks in the regular season last year 4-0, and the Hawks and the Knicks finished with the same exact record. But we got the 4th seed over them and got home court advantage because we had the regular season series over them. Obviously, they got the better of us in the playoffs. So hopefully we can, put the nail in the coffin and silence the Hawks and try to get this dub. Because the last thing we want is to trade for Cam Reddish and they go out there and beat us on Saturday night. And I will be there. It's going to be really fun to see what's going to happen for this Knicks club. I feel like it's a really big time game for the Knicks, and Cam Reddish should definitely get some playing time. There's no doubt. Cam Reddish should go out there, get at least 20 plus 25 minutes each, and play there with the bench and just let him fly, baby. Let him fly. This is a crazy trade, guys. So we're going to wrap up the stream now. The 2-hour mark has come. This is where I wanted to end it off, the 2-hour marker. Tyler, I appreciate you tuning in on last minute notice. You are yeah, of course. Great Knicks insight. I know you don't have a Knicks channel yourself, but you know your stuff about basketball. You know your stuff about the Knicks, and I'd love to have you on the channel in the future, guys.
Absolutely.
If you enjoyed the stream and you enjoyed Tyler, and if you are a New York Mets fan, make sure you subscribe to his channel. It's Wardy NYM. So go check that out. If you are a Mets fan, you don't follow Wardy on YouTube, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm assuming if you're a Mets fan and you're active on YouTube, you already are familiar with Tyler because he does great things and he's the big time Mets YouTuber out there. So before we end the video and end the stream, guys, we just want to give a quick word and your thoughts about Tyler, your thoughts about this season and your thoughts about this trade, just to wrap everything up. So, and you can give your final goodbyes.
Yeah, to summarize things in a nutshell to everyone that's watching live or on replay, this was a massive trade for the Knicks because by no means did they lose it. Okay, there's really no way to look at this and say that this was a bad move. This was a little to no risk, high reward upside type trade that the Knicks did here. And knowing that Cam Reddish is someone that is still so young, still so fresh, and is clearly thriving when given opportunities, especially this season, how can you not do that for a Knicks team that has had their struggles this year? We're all aware of this. They have been inconsistent. They're a team that, again, with expectations, hasn't met them to the degree that I think most Knicks fans would like, but they're finally gaining the groove now over these past couple of weeks, which is awesome to see. And I think that Cam is going to just be a huge plus for them. And knowing, again, the Knicks are going to make moves. You might as well make moves for not just talented players, but guys that can give you potentially a long-term X factor. Guys that will not just be here maybe just for a fun time, but a long time. Cam Reddish brings you that ability as long as everything goes according to plan with him. And in a nutshell, Knicks, who've had their ups and downs all season long, are getting someone that very well could be a spark to them that could help propel them to another level. Not a level of anything crazy probably, but just another level, and really to help out RJ too. You wouldn't think that RJ needs help, but again, he's a 21-year-old. He's going to have his inconsistencies. Cam rekindling that relationship, I only see positives in this situation. So as a Duke and a Knicks fan, I'm jumping for joy. Let's go get Zion in a couple years right. But all jokes aside, beyond grateful to come on here. Thank you so much, Richie. Always a pleasure, guys. Please make sure you're subscribed if you haven't. Amazing Knicks content here. You guys know that by now. Make sure to check out his other channels too. If you say you're a Jets fan and a Mets fan as well. And also check me out on Wardy NYM if you guys are, in fact, Mets fans. We're doing great things over there. So thank you so much for having me, Richie. Always a pleasure, my friend. And let's go Knicks, baby.
Yeah, let's go Knicks. Tyler, I loved having you on here. We'd love to have you on in the future. Maybe when the trade deadline comes around, we can do a live stream and see what's going on cooking at that time. Definitely will have you on the stream. This will not be the final time. And I think we had you on the stream last year at the trade deadline.
And I was advocating heavily for Alonzo.
Yeah, me too.
And then, of course, he went to the Bulls in the offseason, and look at the Bulls now. So
look at the Bulls, first seed. I want Alonzo more than anybody else. Screw those Bulls. But hey, guys, thank you so much for all the support on Knicks Media. Help me get to 8K subs. We're almost there. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. If you can help me out to get that elusive 8,000 subscribers milestone, it means a lot. Also, make sure you smash that like button to get to 300 likes before the stream is all wrapped up. We appreciate all the support. The Knicks got Cam Reddish. Absolutely mind-boggling. Did not expect this to happen, to be honest. But the support on Knicks Media has been awesome. Stay tuned for more content. I'll be at the game Saturday night, so I'll be going live while I'm at the game in Atlanta. So stay tuned for all that great stuff, and I appreciate all the support. And let's go Knicks. Peace out, everybody.